wonderful listeners and fellow seekers of laughter. Mira here, ready to infuse your speakers with some serious sparkle. Oh, between our last chat and this one, I had a truly Mira moment. I was trying out a new, super dramatic salsa step in my living room. Totally forgot my cat, Mr. Snuggles, was doing his sunbelt stretch right where my foot was supposed to land new. Honest thing I knew, I'll be doing an unplanned somersault over him. And my coffee went flying, creating what I can anchor splash art on the wall.
Oh! Mocha splash art! I love it. Wow, mocha splash art! I love it. I can just picture Mr. Snuggles giving you that. Seen it all before, look. My week was, thankfully, less gymnastic. Bus made a new cafe. I had a moving yesterday. I usually varies during barist and the best of five. One was swearing faster hard, hurry space, but was one.
Oh, Leo, the tragic plight of the discerning coffee drinker. Next time, just ask for a deconstructed swan, maybe? Oh, but on a more serious, yet equally captivating note, we're not here to dissect coffee art today, as fascinating as it is. We're actually diving deep into a comparison that many of you, our curious listeners, have been asking about. This podcast, lovingly supported by Jettelfay, IS Innovative Travel Insights, is dedicated to exploring to countries that are often misunderstood and incredibly rich in their own ways.
Yes, indeed. And for anyone out there pondering a journey, considering a move, or even thinking of marrying into one of these unique cultures, this episode is your compass. We're going to pull back the curtain on Haiti and South Sudan, addressing those burning questions like, which one truly calls to my spirit? Which one really calls to my spirit? Our goal is to give you a clearer, if you want to dive even deeper into travel planning. You could always to give you a clear and flinching, yet always respectful look at these nations, so you won't be left one decision.
Wow, that's right, Leo. This isn't just a podcast, it's your go-to guide for understanding the heartbeats of Haiti and South Sudan. We're here to offer insights that go beyond the headlines, helping you picture yourself strolling through those streets, savoring their flavors, or even starting a new chapter there. Oh, so, if you're enjoying this deep dive, make sure you hit that like button, and if you're watching on YouTube, drop us a comment below. We love hearing your thoughts and questions.
Absolutely. Your engagement helps us bring more of these comparisons to life. So, settle in. Grab your swan-free coffee. Because by the end of this episode, you'll have a much clearer picture. We're thrilled to have you with us on this journey of discovery, all made smoother, of course, by the incredible travel tools available at Jettelfay.
So shifting gears a little, let's look at a topic that's often on people's minds when thinking about travel or even just, existing somewhere general safety and crime rates. And today, we're diving into Haiti and South Sudan. Wow, that's a pairing that certainly brings up some complex discussions, wouldn't you say? I mean, I love an adventure, but even I check the safe zone ratings first.
Oh, Mira, you're trying to make safe zone ratings sound like a fun game show. My alarm bells are already clanging, not in a bad way, just in a where's my extra strong coffee and maybe a bodyguard kind of way. Look, we're talking about two countries, Haiti and South Sudan, that, let's be honest, aren't exactly on everyone's relaxing beach vacation list. Unless your idea of relaxing involves navigating a bustling marketplace while keeping an eye on your backpack.
I say local guide who knows all the best street food spots. Ooh, but seriously, when we talk about Haiti, it's impossible to ignore the challenges. We're talking about a nation that has faced so much political instability and, unfortunately, a rise in gang-related violence, especially in parts of Port-au-Prince. And of course, the ongoing humanitarian situation, which often goes hand in hand with increased crime, right? It's not just about pickpockets, it's a deeper societal issue.
Not just about pickpockets, you say, Mira? I'm imagining myself strolling through a market, trying to haggle for a souvenir, which is probably just a rock someone painted, and then realizing my actual wallet is now the souvenir for someone else. Oops, but you're right, the situation in Haiti is far more systemic. The UN has highlighted a surge in kidnappings and widespread gang activity, making certain areas extremely dangerous. It's the kind of place where staying alert isn't just a suggestion, it's practically dangerous.
Oh, ouch. It definitely takes a certain level of resilience to live there, and you have to admire the spirit of the Haitian people. But then, let's shift our gaze to South Sudan. Well, a relatively young nation, but one that has been grappling with internal conflicts, ethnic tensions, and frankly, a very fragile rule of law. Crime rates, particularly outside the capital Juba, are significantly high. It's a completely different flavor of complexity compared to Haiti, wouldn't you say?
Different flavor of complexity is one way to put it, Mira. I'd say it's more like going from a spicy chili to a ghost pepper in terms of security challenges. In South Sudan, you're not just looking out for petty theft, you're talking about more serious issues like cattle rustling, which, by the way, sounds like something out of an old Western movie, but it's a real and violent problem there. And then there's the intercommons violence. So, while Haiti struggles with gangs and political chaos.
It truly is. And what about the impact on daily life? Because for people living there, it's not just a statistic, it's their reality. In Haiti, despite the challenges, life continues, often with incredible vibrancy and community spirit, but always with an underlying current of caution. And in South Sudan, particularly in rural areas, the constant threat is impacting everything from education to healthcare access. It's not just about crime, it's about human security.
Human security? Indeed. I'm picturing myself trying to explain this to someone back home. And they'd probably say, just don't go there, Leo, but it's more nuanced than that. Both countries have areas where life is lived, where communities exist, but the risk assessment is just. For instance, in Haiti, there's a distinct difference. Difference. In Haiti, there's a distinct difference between, say, a gated community and a bustling slum. In South Sudan, venturing outside of guarded compounds in Juba can be quite perilous.
I love that visual, Lear. But that's where the information part comes in, right? Knowing which squares are favor understanding local customs and respecting local advice. For anyone considering travel or work in these regions, it's absolutely crucial to do thorough research. Perhaps consult organizations like Jetoff AI for comprehensive guides on navigating complex destinations. It's about being informed, not just being scared. Ooh.
Exactly, Mira. It's about informed apprehension, not blind panic. And this is where the role of international organizations and peacekeeping missions also comes into play, providing a layer of security, albeit often insufficient for the broader population. So, when we talk about general safety, it's a sliding scale, a spectrum, rather than a binary. Safe door in the comments section on YouTube. And honestly, for both Haiti and South Sudan, it leans towards the more challenging end of that spectrum. Whoa! I'm actually curious about whoa.
Absolutely, your insights are always welcome. So, to wrap up this tough topic, while both Haiti and South Sudan present significant challenges in general safety and crime rates, understanding the specific nature of those challenges is key. It's not just a blanket statement. We're talking about countries with incredible people facing immense difficulties. It reminds us that safety isn't just about statistics, it's about the everyday resilience and vulnerability of human lives.
Resilience and vulnerability, perfectly put, Mira. And with that thought, we'll shift our focus soon to our next topic. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube if you're enjoying these comparisons, even the ones that make us reach for an extra coffee. Every click helps us bring more of these deep dives to you.
Wow. Leo, we've just navigated a whole world of practicalities, and now, let's look at a topic that often feels like walking a tightrope: political stability and social harmony. And today, we're talking about Haiti and South Sudan, two nations with incredibly complex stories.
Complex is one word for it, Mira. I'd say it's more like trying to assemble IKEA furniture with half the instructions missing and a toddler running around with the Allen wrench. Oops. Especially when you're observing political stability in places like Haiti. You see so much resilience, but also, well, a lot of, let's call it, unpredictable plot twists.
Oh, Leo, your IKEA analogy is spot on. In Haiti, despite all the challenges, you often find this incredible spirit, this almost unshakable hope that really binds communities together. Wow! I'm certain that our listeners who've spent time there would agree with me. It's like, even when things are incredibly difficult at a governmental level, the people find ways to create their own harmony, often through art, music, or just sheer neighborly love.
Right. Neighborly love. I've always been fascinated by how, even when the official structures seem, shall we say, a bit wobbly, daily life somehow finds a rhythm. It's not always a harmonious rhythm, but it's a rhythm nonetheless. I remember seeing footage from Haiti's street market's absolute chaos, but everyone knew their place in the chaos. It's like a beautifully orchestrated traffic jam that only Haitians understand. You think, how does anything get done? Then you realize it just does.
Absolutely, and it speaks volumes about their internal strength. Speaking of new nations finding their rhythm, let's gently pivot from the vibrant, is sometimes turbulent, streets of Port-au-Prince, and look at South Sudan. It's a much younger country, having gained independence in 2011, and that brings a whole different set of challenges to political stability and social harmony. Whoa.
A young country, you say? It's like watching a newborn giraffe try to stand up. All legs, no balance. Oops. South Sudan has had its share of internal conflicts, ethnic divisions. It's a really tough path to forge a unified national identity when you're still figuring out where the boundaries of your living room are. Ouch! You see tribal dynamics, power struggles. It's almost too much drama for a single stand-up special.
Too much drama, maybe, but also a profound narrative of a people striving for something better. Ooh, well, it's true, but South Sudan faces significant internal challenges, particularly with reconciling different ethnic groups and building stable institutions. There are also incredible stories of community leaders working to bridge divides. Wow. It's a reminder that harmony isn't just about the absence of conflict, it's also about the active effort to create understanding.
Yeah, active effort. I once heard a story about a community in South Sudan that, after years of conflict, decided to solve their disputes through a massive storytelling session. Everyone got a chance to speak their truth, and somehow, through words, they found common ground. I mean, usually, I get paid to tell stories, not to listen to them in a peace process. But that's pretty incredible, right? It's not about grand political gestures, it's about the people on the ground trying to make things work.
That's a beautiful point, Leo. It's those grassroots efforts that truly build social harmony. For anyone listening right now and wondering how these complex political landscapes affect daily life for expats or travelers, it's really about being informed and understanding the local dynamics. You won't find a one-size-fits-all answer. By the way, if you're enjoying this deep dive into global stability, don't forget to hit that like button on YouTube and share your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing your perspectives.
And for those of you who want to explore these places, or any other, with a sharper, more informed eye, you might want to swing by Jet Al Fay for some solid background research. It's like having a wise, slightly sarcastic guide in your pocket, only without the travel delays. Because understanding the political pulse and social heartbeat of a country, especially like Haiti or South Sudan, is key to truly connecting with it.
Okay, Leo, we've just talked about the beautiful landscapes and vibrant cultures. But now, let's zoom in on a topic that often makes people's wallets do a little wiggle. Our current topic, economic conditions and cost of living for Haiti and South Sudan. I'm imagining our listeners are leaning in, wondering if their retirement funds will magically multiply or disappear in a puff of smoke. Ooh.
Multiply. I'm certain our listeners know by now that my own retirement fund is currently just a suggestion of a fund. You know, Mira, talking about economic conditions in Haiti and South Sudan is like trying to four-leaf clover in a desert while also hoping it's gold-plated. Ouch, it's not exactly a stroll through a well-stocked supermarket, is it? More like a treasure hunt with no map and a very hungry dragon.
Oh, you always find a way to make it sound like a quest. But it's true. These aren't your typical shopping spree destinations. When we look at Haiti, for instance, a huge chunk of its economy actually comes from remittances, you know. Money sent home by people living abroad. It's like a giant family helping hand, constantly passing funds over the fence. Wow. Without it, things would be even tougher.
Absolutely. And that means a lot of daily life is tied to the dollar's strength or weakness depending on where you're standing. If your income isn't in foreign currency, you're constantly doing mental gymnastics with exchange rates. I once tried to budget in a country with volatile currency, and my head started spinning faster than a blender making a smoothie from rocks. Oops, I just stuck to coffee after that.
Your coffee budget is probably higher than some national GDPs, Leo. But speaking of daily life, many expats or even just visitors to Haiti quickly notice that imported goods can be surprisingly pricey. It's not always about the local cost, it's the journey the item takes to get there. Like, imagine your favorite heart is an old cheese from France, suddenly costing more than your rent. Wow.
Your favorite artisanal cheese, Mira. Mine's usually just whatever's on sale. And let's not forget how natural disasters have, unfortunately, played a huge role in Haiti's economic fragility. Every time there's an earthquake or a hurricane, and there have been many, it's like hitting a giant economic reset button, but in reverse. Ouch. Out.
But what about South Sudan? That's a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it? Their economy is heavily dependent on oil. Ooh, it's like putting all your eggs in one very slippery, very volatile basket. If oil prices dip or production is disrupted, it's a ripple effect through everything.
Indeed. And sadly, decades of conflict have practically shredded any attempt at diverse economic growth. You can't exactly set up a booming tech startup when the basic infrastructure for electricity or reliable internet is a pipe dream. It's a country literally rebuilding from almost zero, while also dealing with high inflation that makes your wallet feel like a deflated balloon. Ouch! Our listeners can probably imagine that budgeting becomes a survival skill.
I'm certain that our listeners who've lived in conflict zones would sadly agree with you on that, Leo. For expats considering South Sudan, the cost of living can be astronomically high, not just for imports, but for basic services like security. You're paying a premium just for peace of mind, which changes the whole cost of living equation entirely.
Precisely. It's a different kind of luxury tax. You're not paying for a fancy car, you're paying for a car that hopefully won't break down on a road that might or might not be there tomorrow. Ouch. If you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments if you've experienced similar challenges in other places. We'd be curious to know.
Oh, yes! And for anyone thinking of job opportunities, particularly in Haiti, the informal sector is massive. That means lots of people are hustling, selling goods, or offering services without formal contracts. It's an incredible display of resilience, but it also means less social safety net. Wow. It's like everyone is their own small business owner, running on pure grit.
Running on grit and maybe a lot of hope. From an expat perspective, securing formal employment in either country without very specialized skills or a strong international organization backing you can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack that's also on fire. Oops! And if you do, the cost-benefit analysis often includes security concerns and lack of amenities.
But despite these immense economic challenges, both Haiti and South Sudan have incredible human spirit and a deep sense of community. While the numbers might look daunting, it's never the whole story. I think our viewers on YouTube should definitely check out Jadofei for more detailed articles on the socio-economic factors that influence travel and relocation to these regions. It gives you a deeper dive than just our banter.
Good point, Mira. It's about context always. Because comparing the economic resilience of a street vendor in Port-au-Prince to a community leader navigating international aid in Juba requires a lot more than just statistics. It requires understanding the daily hustle, the small victories, and the sheer willpower to keep going. Wow. And while we're talking about getting more context, please make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We promise more slightly absurd but always informative content.
So, to sum up, both Haiti and South Sudan present unique and formidable economic landscapes. For anyone considering them, it's less about finding a deal on cost of living and more about understanding the complex interplay of local incomes, imported goods, humanitarian aid, and security, all against a backdrop of remarkable human spirit. So, we're talking about places to rest our heads, literally. From what I've heard, finding a comfy spot in Haiti or South Sudan isn't like booking a 5-star resort in Paris. Wow, it's more about resilience and a good mosquito net, right?
Comfy is definitely a relative term in this context. Oh, when we talk about accommodation options and quality in places like Haiti, especially after that earthquake or just generally, you're looking at a spectrum from sturdy concrete homes if you can afford it to, well, other structures. For expats, the picture shifts slightly, but it's still about managing expectations.
Oh, managing expectations is my middle name. I once stayed in a boutique hostel that was just a room with 2 furry, enthusiastic squirrels. Oh, but seriously, for Haiti, I imagine security is a huge factor, even for rentals. Are there safe, guarded compounds, or is it more of a cross your fingers and hope for the best situation?
Well, squirrels in a boutique hostel, genuinely a classic. My mind is already drafting a new stand-up routine about that. You're spot on, though. In Haiti, especially around Port-au-Prince, you'll find gated communities or reinforced properties that cater to expats or aid workers. They come with their own security teams, generators, because power is a luxury, not a given, and sometimes even a private water supply. Think fortress chic.
Fortress chic. I'm adding that to my vocabulary. But I'm curious, are these fortresses still charming on the inside, or are they just concrete boxes with good locks? I mean, a girl still wants a little color and maybe a plant or two, right? Oh, I'm certain that our listeners living in Haiti would agree with me about wanting a splash of color.
Charming is probably pushing it. Oops. They're functional, often quite spacious, but the focus is heavily on utility and security. You're not going to find art is no tiling or a chef's kitchen unless you're building it yourself or paying top dollar for a fully renovated spot. Most come in furnished, so you're starting from scratch. And sometimes, even with all the security, the biggest challenge is just keeping the bugs out. Ouch. I mean, a tiny lizard can sneak in anywhere.
Oh, a lizard friend. I actually have a tiny lizard Lucky Charm that I carry around, so I wouldn't mind. Oh, but speaking of these homes, what about the actual rental market? Is it mainly word of mouth, or are there real estate agencies that handle expat housing? I'm asking for a friend, obviously, who might or might not be me wanting to explore.
It's mostly word of mouth and local networks. You might find a few online listings, but often the best places are secured through contacts or reputable local fixers. And the prices? Whoa, don't expect a bargain. A decent secured home in Port-au-Prince can easily rival rents in some European capitals, purely due to demand and the infrastructure needed to maintain safety and utilities. It's a supply and demand game, but with much higher stakes.
Wow, that's a serious investment just for a roof over your head. So, let's pivot slightly or maybe twirl. If you prefer to South Sudan, what does accommodation even look like there, especially for someone moving for work? Is it tents, prefabs, or are there actual houses with four walls? Oh, I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this.
South Sudan. My stomach's rumbling just thinking about the adventure of finding a place there. Much like Haiti, security is paramount. For expats, especially outside of Juba, you're often looking at purpose-built compounds run by NGOs, UN missions, or international organizations. These usually consist of prefabs or modular units, sometimes reinforced, all within a perimeter. Basic but functional is the mantra.
Functional and basic sounds like my cooking. Is there any local flavor in those compounds? Like, do they try to make them feel like a community, or is it just a collection of boxes where everyone hides after dark? I mean, even in a prefab, you want to feel a little bit of home, right?
Not much local flavor in the architecture itself, unless you count the reed dust that gets everywhere. But many compounds do foster a strong sense of community. Shared dining areas, small recreation facilities, even impromptu movie nights. People are there for a reason, and that shared experience often creates strong bonds. It's less about the building and more about the people you're sheltering with. Plus, if you're lucky, your neighbor might have a working internet connection.
A working internet connection is gold. I remember that one time I went without Wi-Fi for a day, and I started talking to my plants. Oh, but seriously, for those listening who might be considering a move, what's the quality like in South Sudan, even in those compounds? Are we talking running water, electricity, air conditioning, or is that just a dream?
Electricity and running water are often reliant on generators and boreholes, so they're not always guaranteed 24/7 SDH. Air conditioning is definitely a luxury item, typically only found in offices or higher-end units, and it'll drain the generator like a vampire. Ouch. Most rely on fans. Maintenance can be a constant battle against the elements, dust, heat, insects, general wear and tear. So, the quality is good enough to get the job done, but it's not what you call luxurious.
Okay, so essentially in both Haiti and South Sudan, accommodation often means survival with a roof. It sounds like you need to pack your own resilience and maybe a few extra extension cords. Oh, and for our YouTube listeners, if you have any survival tips for living in these environments, drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear your real-life stories.
Indeed. And for those curious about the financial side of securing these unique accommodations, head over to Jet-Off AI. You'll find detailed breakdowns and resources that go beyond my sarcastic quips. It's a solid place to start planning.
So, whether you're building a fortress or living in a functional box, it sounds like a real adventure. Ooh, but an adventure that requires serious planning and a sense of humor. Alright, so we're diving into the delightful world of bureaucracy today, talking about the ease of visa, immigration, and all those official procedures in Haiti and South Sudan. I'm already imagining myself trying to explain my content creator job to an official there. It would be a silent comedy act, I'm sure. For Haiti, it feels like they're saying, come on in, but first, solve this elaborate riddle.
Riddle. Mira? More like a multi-level escape room where the prize is a stamp. Hey! From what I've observed, Haiti's system, especially for longer stays, can feel less like a clear pathway, more like a treasure hunt without a map. Wow. You need patience, local contacts, and possibly a good sense of humor, which I'm sure our listeners and certainly you possess. I'm certain that our listeners living in Haiti would agree with me.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like they want to make sure you really want to be there. Aha. For simple tourist visas, it might be relatively straightforward for many nationalities. But once you start looking at work permits or residency, that's when you might feel like you're collecting ingredients for a very specific and rather obscure potion. You're gathering documents, getting things authenticated, and then waiting. Waiting. Speaking of which, for anyone wanting to truly add into these specific
Obscure potion is a perfect way to put it. Oh, my observations suggest that Haiti's system, partly due to historical complexities and fluctuating political stability, isn't always documented with crystal clarity. It means that what might be a simple application one day could require an extra 20 forms the next. Whoa. It's the kind of place where a fixer or a good lawyer isn't a luxury, but a survival tool. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Have you ever hired someone just to never hired someone just to never hired someone just to never hired someone?
Oh, absolutely. A fixer could probably teach a masterclass in stress management. Now, shifting gears slightly, because paperwork doesn't just pile up in one country, let's look at South Sudan. My immediate thought is, okay, this isn't going to be a walk in the park either, is it? Given its relatively recent independence and ongoing nation-building efforts, one might expect a slightly more, let's say, evolving bureaucratic landscape.
Evolving bureaucratic landscape is a polite way of saying expect the unexpected. South Sudan's immigration processes are typically quite stringent, primarily due to security concerns and their focus on controlling who enters and stays. Wow. For most visitors, an invitation letter from a reputable organization or individual within the country is practically non-negotiable for a visa. And even then, it's a careful dance. I've often joked that applying for a visa there feels like trying for a visa.
An exclusive club where they might ask you to perform a loyalty test before letting you in. Seriously though, it does mean a lot of pre-planning. You can't just wake up one morning and decide, hey, I'm off to Juba. You need to coordinate well in advance. Submit all those documents to the nearest embassy. And be ready for detailed scrutiny. It's a completely different rhythm than, say, a digital nomad visa for a beachside European country.
Oh, vastly different. My keen eye has noticed that the process for South Sudan often involves multiple levels of approval, and patience is not just a virtue, it's a mandatory requirement. Any minor discrepancy can lead to significant delays, and communication from official channels can be sparse. It's a land where follow-up calls feel like whispers into the void. Ouch. If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments. Perhaps you have a different story.
Whispers into the void, I love that, Leo. It sounds like you need to bring a portable Zen garden to your visa appointment. For both Haiti and South Sudan, it's really about managing expectations, understanding that these aren't countries where you can just waltz in. They have their reasons for these procedures, whether it's security, economic control, or simply a developing administrative system. It's less about these and more about preparedness.
Indeed. And it's not a criticism, it's an observation. For anyone considering long-term residency or work, especially in South Sudan, expect a robust background check and consistent adherence to local laws. Wow. It's less about rolling out the red carpet and more about ensuring that every step is taken with intention. It's truly a test of your commitment to being there. And for those seriously looking into it, check out Jet Off AI for DT's unique journeys without tearing your hair out.
It's definitely a commitment. So, for our listeners, If you're thinking of settling down or working in either of these fascinating countries, do your homework, pack your patience, and maybe practice your bureaucratic tango steps. Let's talk about something really vital: access to and quality of health services. It's a huge topic, especially when we consider countries like Haiti and South Sudan. I mean, imagine being an expat there and getting a little sniffle. Oh.
A little sniffle? Mira, if you're an expat in South Sudan, a sniffle might just be the least of your worries. Wow, we're talking about places where finding a clean bandage can feel like a quest for the Holy Grail.
Well, you've always had a flair for the dramatic, Leo. But seriously, Haiti, for instance, has faced immense challenges, especially with natural disasters. Whoa, it feels like they're constantly rebuilding their healthcare system after every earthquake or hurricane. I can just imagine trying to find a specialist when the nearest road is. Well, more of a suggestion than a road.
Exactly. And let's be real, for an expat, access to healthcare in Haiti often means having a fat wallet for the private clinics or knowing exactly which NGO compound has the best doctors. Otherwise, you might find yourself negotiating with a goat for an appointment.
Ooh, you are always with the goats, Leo. But seriously, it's a stark reality. Many healthcare services in Haiti, especially in rural areas, are heavily reliant on international-aided non-governmental organizations. Wow, they do amazing work, though. Think about the community health workers traversing challenging terrain to reach people. It's a testament to human spirit.
Traversing challenging terrain? Ouch! I'd probably need a team of my own just to get to the first aid kit. In South Sudan, the situation is even more, let's say, nascent. Aha. The country is so new, and years of conflict have decimated what little infrastructure they had. You're looking at a severe shortage of doctors, nurses, and even basic medical supplies. It's not just a sniffle there, it's a where's the closest clinic. And do they have a building? Situation.
Wow, that really puts things into perspective. It sounds like a healthcare system in its infancy, trying to grow under extremely difficult circumstances. I'm certain that our listeners living in these regions would have some intense stories about this. Oh, it's not just about hospitals, but even preventative care, like access to clean water to prevent diseases.
Absolutely, Mira. Clean water sanitation. These are basic building blocks that are still a monumental struggle in South Sudan. I remember hearing a joke from a local once who said, "Our emergency room is mostly just hope and good wishes." It's dark, but it's their reality. For an expat, if you have anything beyond a minor issue, you're looking at medical evacuation, full stop.
That really drives home the point, Leo. Wow. But even in those incredibly tough environments, you find stories of immense dedication. Doctors and nurses working tirelessly with minimal resources. I think it highlights the resilience of the human spirit. If you're out there listening and you've experienced healthcare in challenging environments, please share your thoughts on our YouTube channel. What surprised you the most?
I'm curious about what our listeners think about this too. I mean, I can just picture the expat forums. Has anyone seen a dentist lately? Asking for a friend. And my aching jaw. In Haiti, traditional medicine often plays a significant role alongside conventional care, especially when the latter is hard to access.
That's a great point, Leo. It's not just about what hospitals are available, but what people actually use and trust. In South Sudan, traditional healers might be the only option for many, particularly in remote villages, which speaks volumes about the scarcity of modern medical facilities. Ouch, It's truly a complex web of challenges.
Complex web is an understatement, Mira. I'm pretty sure if I tried to navigate that web without coffee, I'd end up needing medical attention myself. But seriously, the sheer lack of trained personnel is staggering in South Sudan. They have one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the world. It's not just a statistic, it's a constant, tragic reality for families.
Ooh, that's heartbreaking to hear, Leo. It underscores how critical basic medical training and resources are. I feel like we often take our local clinics and pharmacists for granted, don't we? This really makes you appreciate the infrastructure we often just expect.
Yeah, totally. So, for expats, whether you're in Haiti trying to avoid the next cholera outbreak, or in South Sudan hoping your first aid kit doesn't run out of paracetamol, the healthcare landscape is a stark reminder of global disparities. It's not about comparing five-star hospitals, it's about comparing sheer survival.
Well, sheer survival is a powerful way to put it. Ooh, it makes me think about what we can do, even from afar, to support these places. It's not always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's about awareness. Speaking of which, you can find more articles and resources about global health challenges on Jesrafai.
Yeah, awareness gay. And if you're ever planning a trip to either of these places, just remember to pack a doctor in your suitcase, or at least a really good medical evacuation plan. And enough coffee for me.
Alright, Leo, since we just talked about the general vibe, let's roll into a topic that literally moves us: transportation, infrastructure, and convenience. Today, we're looking at Haiti and South Sudan, two countries with truly unique challenges in getting around. So, Haiti first. What's your initial thought on how people navigate there?
Navigate. I imagine it's less about navigation and more about sheer willpower, Mira. You know, my mind immediately jumps to the roads or the lack thereof in some parts of Haiti. Whoa. I've seen pictures of their tap-taps, these vibrant hand-painted minibuses. They're like rolling art galleries, packed to the brim with people. I'd love to take one, just for the story, even if my knees end up somewhere near my ears. Ouch. But seriously, these countries make me think about how much we take a paved road for granted.
Oh, I was just about to ask about the tap-taps. Wow, they're like mobile disco parties on wheels, right? Ooh, I heard people even decorate the interiors like tiny, personalized shrines. That's a level of commitment to public transit aesthetics I can only dream of. But it's true, while they're full of character, they're often the main mode of transport. And many roads are paved. Imagine your daily commute being an off-road adventure. I bet our listeners who live in major cities like New York or London can only dream of that kind of excitement, right?
Nightmare for my back for sure, Mira. I'd probably need a whole stand-up routine just to stretch after one of those rides. But that's Haiti, isn't it? Resourcefulness and flair. They take a broken road and make it colorful. Moving on from the four-wheeled artistic marvels, let's consider the air. Haiti has a few airports, but mostly it's the main international one in Port-au-Prince. For a country with such challenging internal travel, those international connections become even more vital. I can only imagine the bottleneck in our connections become even more vital.
Oh, tell me about it. I picture a scene straight out of a movie where everyone's running, trying to catch their flight, and someone's tap-tap is stuck in a mud puddles and bumpy rides. That sort of sets the stage for South Sudan, doesn't it? Their infrastructure challenges are on a whole different level. It's not just about paved roads, it's about very few roads, period.
Absolutely, Mira. South Sudan. Just hearing the name, my observational radar goes off. It's a country literally building itself up. And that includes basic infrastructure. So, when we talk about roads there, we're often talking about dirt tracks that vanish during the rainy season. Whoa. I once heard a story about a relief worker who said their road trip continued. That's not a road trip, that's a survival mission. And if you're trying to deliver aid,
My enthusiasm would take a serious hit if my dance party on wheels got stuck for 2 days. Ouch! But you hit on something crucial the rainy season. It turns those few roads into swamps, making large parts of the country completely inaccessible by land. It must be like living in an aquatic park, but without the fun slides. I've also heard that the White Nile River is incredibly important for transport there, almost like a watery highway.
yeah, the Nile isn't just a river, it's a lifeline, a logistics marvel, and probably occasionally a source of impromptu riverside jokes, if I were there. It connects towns that are otherwise cut off. Think about it, instead of a bus, you're hopping on a barge with your groceries and maybe a few goats. It's an entirely different rhythm of travel in South Sudan. As for air travel in South Sudan, it's mostly Juba International Airport, plus a scattering of smaller airstrips. But those small airstrips,
Necessarily adventurous, you mean? It's definitely not the kind of setup where you can just check our flight deals on Jet or Fate. For a spontaneous weekend getaway. These are journeys planned with military precision, I imagine. When you have such limited infrastructure, every trip feels monumental. It also means that for many, walking is the primary mode of transport. Imagine walking miles to get water or school every single day. That's a level of dedication I can barely fathom before my morning coffee.
you said it, Mira. My morning walk to the coffee machine feels monumental sometimes. But really, the sheer scale of the challenge in South Sudan is immense. Security issues, vast distances, and the cost of building and maintaining roads are huge hurdles. They're practically building a transport network from scratch while dealing with various complexities. It makes you appreciate how many invisible hands keep things moving in more developed places. So, while Haiti struggles with aging infrastructure and intense structure and
It's a stark comparison, isn't it? One has character-filled, is slightly chaotic trust, and the other is laying down the very first bricks. It really highlights how crucial a functioning transport system is for everything from economy to education and even just basic survival. So, if you're ever grumbling about a traffic jam, just imagine a tap-tap stuck in a Haitian mudslide or waiting for a South Sudanese. Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these deep dives into global travel realities.
yes, and if you've got a transit hack for a river crossing in South Sudan or a way to make a tap-tap even more fabulous, drop a comment below on YouTube. We're always keen to hear your stories. It truly puts things in perspective when we look at places like Haiti and South Sudan. It's not just about getting from A to B, it's about the ingenuity, resilience, and sometimes the sheer absurdity of the journey.
Ooh, language barriers. Sometimes I think I speak the universal language of happy noise and dancing, but then I try to order a coffee in a new country, and suddenly my happy noise isn't translating to latte with oat milk. Wow, it's like my brain just becomes a big, confused emoji. What about you, Leo? Ever found yourself in a linguistic pickle?
Well, Mira, my pickles usually involve trying to explain my stand-up routine to a bewildered street vendor. You'd think man falls, but an appeal is universal, but apparently cultural nuances apply even to slapstick. So on to our topic, language barrier and ease of communication. And we're jet-setting to Haiti and South Sudan. I'm certain our listeners living in these countries would agree with me. This is where Lost in Translation takes on a whole new meaning.
Speaking of lost in translation, let's start with Haiti. It's so vibrant. They have two official languages, Haitian Creole, which is spoken by almost everyone, and French, used for more formal stuff. It's like two beautiful dances happening at once. One for everyday joy and one for formal elegance. When I was trying to learn a few phrases in Creole, it felt so melodic. Even when I was probably asking for a goat instead of a ride.
I can just picture you, Mira, charming the entire goat population. As for Haiti, the linguistic landscape is indeed fascinating. You've got Creole, which is the heart of daily communication, and then French, a legacy of colonial times, often for bureaucracy and higher education. It's like having the separate instruction manuals for Life 1 for the legal disclaimers. And for an expat, nailing Creole is essential if you want to actually, live there, not just visit.
Oh, absolutely. Knowing Creole would unlock so many stories. Aha! But then we pivot to South Sudan. Whoa! This is where the linguistic tapestry gets really intricate. English is the official language, which sounds familiar, right? But then you have Arabic, Petit widely Juba Arabic, which is widely spoken in trade. And then there are over 60 indigenous languages. Ouch! It's like trying to navigate a party where everyone's speaking a different tune.
You said it. English is official, but in practice, it's a mosaic. Imagine trying to explain your flight delay in English to someone who only speaks Dinka, while your taxi driver is fluent in Juba Arabic. Oops, it's like ordering a pizza and needing 3 different interpreters for the toppings. The sheer linguistic diversity in South Sudan means that while English is the lingua franca for government or formal settings, connecting with people on a deeper level usually requires delving into local languages.
That's where improvisation comes in, right? Oh, I love how people find ways to communicate beyond words. For expats in South Sudan, I imagine it's a constant learning curve. Maybe you pick up a few phrases in Dinka for the market, then switch to Juba Arabic for your ride, and then hope your colleagues speak English. It's a linguistic workout for your brain. Don't forget, if you're intrigued by these places, check out Jet AI for more details and resources.
Indeed. And it's not just about the words, is it? In Haiti, Creole is directing their vibrant culture. But French can be more formal, more reserved. In South Sudan, with so many languages, nonverbal communication, respect, and patience become even more crucial. It's like a silent ballet of understanding. Oh, you really have to tune into the unspoken cues. Otherwise, you might accidentally agree to buy a cow when you only wanted directions to the nearest coffee shop.
Wow, a cow instead of coffee. No, a cow instead of coffee. That's a story I love to hear. But you're right, Leo. Understanding the culture behind the language is everything. In both places, even a few words of the local tongue can open doors and build trust, showing respect for their traditions. Ah. It's a journey, not a sprint. And for those of you wanting to learn more about how different cultures communicate, related articles on Jetafe, I'd dive even deeper.
Exactly. It shows you're not just a tourist snapping photos, but someone genuinely interested. In South Sudan, the sheer number of indigenous languages can make formal education in English a challenge for children, especially if their home language is entirely different. It's a huge undertaking to bridge that gap. And let's be real, most of us struggle with just one new language, let alone navigating a country with over 60. Oops.
It's a big world out there with so many ways to speak. But I think the common thread is that people appreciate the effort. Oh, whether it's a simple bonjour or salama, that small gesture can spark a genuine connection. So, no matter where you go, try to learn a few words. You might not speak perfectly, but you'll definitely get some laughs, and maybe even a good story out of it.
Yeah, and probably a few miscommunications too, which, let's be honest, make for the best stand-up material. So, whether you're braving the linguistic currents of Haiti or the multi-dialect rivers of South Sudan, remember that a smile and a good sense of humor are perhaps the most universal languages of all.
Let's jump into another fascinating topic now, comparing the cultural tapestry and tolerance of two wildly different places, Haiti and South Sudan. Wow, talk about a journey into unique identities. I'm already buzzing with excitement, thinking about, ooh, the colorful traditions. Ooh.
Cultural tapestry, you say? More like a tangled yarn ball with a few loose threads, if we're being honest. If we're being honest. I imagine Haiti, with its deep African roots mixed with French flair, like a jazz fusion band that somehow makes it all work. Then you have South Sudan, a nation practically fresh off the assembly line, still figuring out its drumbeat with over 60 different ethnic groups. That sounds less like a harmonious choir and more like a very lively, sometimes off-key, debate club.
Oh, Leo, you always see the debate club first. But that's exactly what makes it so rich. In Haiti, for example, you have this incredible blend of African traditions from the Yoruba, FON, and Congo peoples, all spiced up with French colonial influences. It's like a perfectly crafted culinary dish, where every ingredient adds something vital. Wow, and then there's Haitian Creole, a language born from that fusion. It's not just a language, it's a living testament to resilience and adaptation.
Well, as long as the dish isn't so spicy my stomach doesn't come back with me. Ouch, speaking of fusion, Haiti's vote or religion is a prime example of cultural synthesis, isn't it? It's often misunderstood, yet it's this incredibly complex spiritual system that kept their identity alive under oppression. It's like, you try to erase us, but we'll just incorporate your stuff into ours and make it cooler. Whoa, that's a serious level of cultural jujitsu.
It is absolutely fascinating, and that resilience, that deep-seated sense of freedom, it's part of Haiti's very foundation. They were the first free Black republic, after all, but like anywhere, there are nuances. Social divisions and colorism exist, which can lead to internal tensions. It's not all sunshine and carnival parades, but the community spirit is incredibly strong. Ooh. They truly understand the power of coming together.
Right? Because nothing says harmony like a few hundred years of complicated history. Meanwhile, in South Sudan, you're looking at a different kind of cultural collage. You've got the Dinka, the Nuer, the Shilyokai, the A's, and each with their own languages, customs, and even specific dances for celebrating a good harvest or a surprisingly calm Tuesday. Oh, imagine trying to explain all those family traditions at a single Thanksgiving dinner.
But glorious chaos, Leo. It's like a living, breathing encyclopedia of human experience. Wow. They might have over 60 ethnic groups, but each one contributes a thread to the national identity they're trying to weave. Yes, it faced immense challenges with internal conflicts, but efforts toward reconciliation and fostering a shared national identity are vital. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about what it takes to build a unified culture from such diverse origins.
Oh, I'm sure it takes more than a few peace treaties and a shared love for not having civil war anymore. The challenge for South Sudan is enormous, trying to create one national narrative when tribal loyalties are so ingrained. It's like asking all your cousins to agree on which uncle tells the best jokes. Good luck with that. And let's not forget how resource distribution, like oil, often complicates these cultural discussions into something far less harmonious.
Well, since we mentioned resources and challenges, both nations have navigated incredible difficulties. Yet, their cultural expressions, their music, their art, their storytelling remain incredibly vibrant. Haiti's old traditions are legendary, and their vibrant art, particularly naive art, just bursts with life and color. It's a joy to behold. Wow, it's like a visual hug for the soul.
Yes, and South Sudan also has a rich oral tradition with stories passed down through generations, though I imagine some of those stories might involve how we got this scar trying to negotiate a peace treaty at the local market. The resilience of human culture is truly impressive. It's like no matter how much external pressure or internal squabbling there is, people still find a way to dance, sing, and argue passionately about whose go-to the best.
Exactly. It's about finding common ground, celebrating differences, and working towards a shared future. And both countries, in their own unique ways, are striving for that social cohesion. If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments. We love hearing different perspectives. This reminds me, for those of you wanting to dive deeper into global cultures, and maybe even plan your own adventurous trip, check out just some incredible resources. They're all about making those travel dreams a reality, no matter how off the beaten path you want to go.
Or how on the beaten path you are when you get there and discover it's not what you expected. Oops! But seriously, understanding these dynamics helps us appreciate the complexity of nation building on cultural survival. Both Haiti and South Sudan are testimonies to the human spirit's ability to create beauty and identity even in the face of adversity. And if that's not material forest and a routine about stubbornness and hope, I don't know what is.
Celia, there's always a joke, even in the most serious topics. And that's what makes these conversations so valuable. It's about looking beneath the surface and finding the human connection. So, whether you're drawn to Haiti's revolutionary spirit, or solve for profound lessons in cultural diversity and the enduring human spirit.
Indeed. Just remember, when traveling to places with such deep and varied cultures, always observe, listen, and maybe don't try to teach a Dinka elder how to do the Macarena. Unless you want to become a very memorable anecdote in their oral history.
So, speaking of places that challenge your expectations, let's look at educational opportunities on language schools in Haiti and South Sudan. Wow!
Education. My brain's already drawing calc boards and reading POC quizzes. Remember that time in school, Mira, when you thought geography was a type of spicy dance?
Don't even get me started on POC quizzes, Leo. They always felt like a personal attack. But seriously, Haiti's education system is... well, it's a journey. After the 2010 earthquake, there's been a huge push for rebuilding, but still, many schools are private, which means access can be tough for a lot of kids. It's like a game of Find the Open Classroom.
Find the Open Classroom sounds like a twisted reality show for parents. Ouch. So, a lot of the heavy lifting for education falls on private institutions then? That sounds like a tough nut to crack for a country trying to rebuild. I'm certain our listeners living in Haiti would agree with me on the challenges.
Absolutely, Leo. It's a real challenge, but there's so much resilience. Language-wise, we're talking about Haitian Creole and French. French is often the language of instruction in higher education, which can create a bit of a divide if you don't grow up speaking it. It's almost like having two different learning ladders. For language schools, I imagine it's more about survival language than leisure learning there.
Right. So, you're saying if I wanted to impress someone in Port-au-Prince with my impeccable French, I'd probably need a private tutor who also doubles as a tour guide and maybe a philosopher. What about South Sudan then? I mean, that's a country with a much newer origin story, comparatively speaking.
Being one of the world's youngest nations, they're building their education system from almost scratch, amid ongoing challenges. It's like trying to build a castle out of Legos during a windy day. Literacy rates are incredibly low, especially for women, and many children don't even get to finish primary school. It's heartbreaking.
That's a stark contrast. So, if you're talking about language schools there, are we looking at efforts to standardize a national language, or is it more about learning English for international opportunities? I hear English is the official language, but with so many ethnic groups it must be a linguistic puzzle. Aha!
You hit the nail on the head, Leo. English is the official language, and it's taught in schools. But with over 60 indigenous languages, that creates its own set of challenges. Imagine learning algebra in a language you only just started speaking last year. Whoa, for language schools, I'd say the focus is largely on English to connect with the wider world. It's about opening doors. Ooh.
So in Haiti, It's a historical linguistic divide, and in South Sudan, it's an effort to leapfrog into a global language while nurturing local tongues. Wow, it's like the different approaches to making sure everyone can speak to someone. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Do language policies help or hinder education in emerging nations? If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments when we upload this to YouTube.
Good point, Leo. And speaking of learning, sometimes just adapting to a new environment is a crash course in itself. I remember in one of my travels, I tried to ask for directions using only gestures. It ended with me accidentally ordering a triple scoop ice cream instead of finding the bus station. Oops, you can't really get that kind of immersive language learning in a classroom.
Only you. I picture a bus driver scratching his head, then handing you a sundae. Ah, but that's the thing, isn't it? These countries, despite their immense struggles, are full of people who are incredibly eager to learn and grow. Whether it's through formal schools or just learning to navigate daily life, there's an undeniable spirit. We'll put some links to organizations working on educational initiatives in both countries in the description on YouTube if you want to learn more, or even donate to some of these amazing causes.
Oh, that's a great idea, Leo. And for anyone thinking about volunteering or contributing, Creole, French, or English makes a huge difference. It's not just about textbooks, it's about connection and understanding. It reminds me of the time I tried to teach at Anne's class with only hand gestures. It was a beautiful mess, but we connected. That's the power of communication, even when it's just point and wiggle.
Aha! Point and wiggle, the universal language. I like it. So while formal educational opportunities might be challenged in both Haiti and South Sudan, the DRO is absolutely present. It's not just about institutions, it's about the human spirit. And that's something you can't teach in any classroom. Oh, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube if you find these discussions insightful and want to hear more.
And don't forget to check out Jet Off AI for more resources on countries and cultures. You might even find a guide to point and wiggle languages there. You know, Leo, when we talk about climate, I always imagine myself either dancing in the rain or basking in glorious sunshine. And speaking of sunshine, let's turn our attention to Haiti. This vibrant nation, nestled in the Caribbean, pretty much lives in a tropical paradise. Oh, we're talking warmth all year round, my friend.
Ah, warmth. My favorite kind of heat, as long as it doesn't involve me actively melting into a puddle. So, Haiti, perpetually warm, you say? Does that mean my coffee never gets cold? Because that's a serious concern for a man of my refined tastes. I picture constant humidity. Is it the kind where you feel like you've already taken a shower before you even leave the house?
You're not wrong, Leo. The humidity can definitely give you that just stepped out of the steam room glow. But it also brings beautiful rainy seasons. Haiti actually has two of them, one from April to June, and another from August to November. The rest of the time from December to March is their dry season, which is still wonderfully warm. Imagine. No more scraping ice off your windshield.
No ice? Wow, sounds like a dream for my perpetually cold toes. But wait, Mira, two rainy seasons, that's almost half the year? Are we talking gentle, romantic drizzle, or the sky just decided to empty its entire contents on us kind of rain? Because for a comedian, getting soaked mid-joke is a whole different level of performance art. And I'm certain our listeners on YouTube would have opinions on their preferred rain type. Don't forget to tell us in the comments, folks.
Oh, it can definitely be the sky emptying its contents kind, especially during hurricane season, which runs roughly from August to October. Ouch. That's when things can get pretty intense. But the Haitian spirit is incredibly resilient. They adapt, rebuild, and find joy even after the toughest storms. It's truly inspiring.
Resilience, or as I like to call it, Finding new ways to dry your laundry when everything's soaked? I can only imagine the practicalities of living with that kind of intense weather. My inner checklist for packing would basically be everything waterproof, and then some more waterproof stuff. But speaking of intense climates, let's pivot, shall we? From one kind of tropical to another, what about South Sudan? I'm guessing it's not known for its cool breezes.
Oh, nah. That's a whole different flavor of tropical. While Haiti is all about that Caribbean warmth and humidity, South Sudan presents a much hotter picture, with its own very distinct seasonal rainfall. We're talking high temperatures, Leo. Very high. My theory is their smiles are so constantly hydrated to beat the heat.
High temperatures, you say? Whoa, is it the kind of heat where the tarmac melts and you can fry an egg on literally anything? Because my usual complaint of my coffee isn't hot enough would quickly become, I am the coffee, and I am boiling. My observational skills tell me that a coffee addict like myself might struggle without an industrial-sized fan following me around.
You might need a personal cloud, honestly. South Sudan has a long, heavy rainy season that stretches from May to October. And then brace yourself, because their dry season, from November to April, brings incredibly hot and dusty conditions. Think dry, dusty winds that could probably symbust your car, and temperatures that climb higher than my excitement for chocolate. Oops. Almost as high.
Dust too? Wow, so it's not just heat, it's a full sensory experience. I come back looking like a perpetually bewildered desert explorer. My clothes, my hair, probably even my teeth would be coated in a fine layer of authentic South Sudanese dust. It'd have to update my travel blog, Adventures in Extreme Dust, my fight against micropatricus. And for those considering a visit, our site Jetafé has some fantastic tips on preparing for diverse climates like these.
Yes, and despite these challenges, life goes on with incredible vibrancy. People have developed ingenious ways to adapt from their architecture to their daily routines. They seek shade. They know exactly when to work with the rains and when to prepare for the dry heat. It's a testament to human resilience, really. It shows how we can connect with nature's rhythm, even when it's extreme.
I imagine their local humor involves a lot of jokes about sweating through another shirt or which body part got sunburned today. Seriously though, it's a powerful reminder that climate isn't just a number on a thermometer. It shapes everything: culture, lifestyle, and even the pace of life itself. My internal clock would definitely slow down to survival mode in that heat. So, while Haiti battles the wet extremes, South Sudan masters the dry, fiery ones.
Exactly. So, whether you're dreaming of Haiti's tropical warmth and sudden downpours, or South Sudan's intense heat and dramatic rainy season, both countries offer a powerful lesson in adapting to nature's whims. It's about finding beauty and forging connections, no matter the weather. Don't forget to like this podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you found this insightful. Oh, so we're diving into the delicious chaos of food culture and nutritional alternatives, which I absolutely adore. You know, talking about Haiti's vibrant cuisine immediately makes me think of all those incredible flavors. That zesty cabbage slaw. It's like a party in your mouth, isn't it? Well, I once tried to make it at home. And let's just say my kitchen looked like a tropical storm hit a vegetable stand.
Tropical storm hits a vegetable stand. I can just picture it. Oops! Sounds like a typical Tuesday at your place, Mira. Hey, speaking of vibrant, Haiti's culinary heritage is definitely rich. But it's also a testament to incredible resourcefulness. Wouldn't you say? I mean, turning simple ingredients into something so flavorful and distinctive, it's almost like a magic trick. Aha! I'm certain that our listeners who've explored Haitian street food would agree there's a kind of defiant joy in every bite.
Absolutely, Leo. And that resourcefulness extends to nutritional alternatives too. People in Haiti often rely on locally grown produce, which is fantastic for fresh vitamins, even when access to varied food sources is a challenge. They're constantly finding ways to stretch meals and ensure families are fed, using things like breadfruit and cassava. It's truly inspiring. Ooh. For our listeners thinking about healthy eating on a budget, take a cue from Haitian cuisine recipes. Why not share them in the comments what you have?
That's a solid point, Mira. Necessity really is the mother of culinary invention. But while we're talking about making the most of what you have, let's look at South Sudan. A country that, let's just say, has faced its fair share of challenges, especially when it comes to consistent food supply. Here, the traditional diet leans heavily on staples like sorghum, millet, and maize. And imagine trying to whip up a gourmet meal when your main ingredients are just different types of grain. Ouch. It's a stark contrast to Haiti's tropical bounty.
Whoa. You're right, Leo. It sounds incredibly tough. But even there, I'm sure people find ways to make their meals special. You mentioned grains. What about their role in the culture? I've heard livestock, especially cattle, is super important in South Sudan, not just for food, but culturally too. Oh, do they incorporate dairy or meat into their nutritional alternatives, even if it's not an everyday thing? I'm actually curious about what our listeners who might be familiar with the region think about this. Does that cultural significance translate to retranslate to dietary creed?
Aha! You've hit on a crucial point, Mira. Cattle are indeed central, a symbol of wealth and status. However, daily consumption of meat or dairy isn't widespread for everyone, primarily due to economic and logistical constraints. Most often, livestock is for special occasions or trade. So, nutritional alternatives often involve grinding those grains, sorghum, millet, into thick porridges, sometimes supplemented with wild greens or legumes when available. It's less about culinary exploration and more about sustained, more available. It's less about culinary exploration and more available.
Oops. No, definitely not alien soup, but still incredible in its own right, don't you think? It's about survival and finding nutrition in the most basic forms. I bet those grains, when cooked with whatever herbs or spices they can get their hands on, must still offer a comforting warmth. It's like even in the toughest situations, food still brings people together. Wow. It reminds us how lucky we are sometimes, doesn't it? And speaking of being lucky, if you're enjoying this conversation, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Comforting warmth, Mira. You really do have a way with words. But let's be realistic. For many in South Sudan, the nutritional alternative is often simply any food, rather than a choice. They do have some interesting cultural practices though. For example, dried fish is sometimes used to add protein and flavor. It's a clever way to preserve and utilize what's available. Overall, both countries show remarkable resilience, but South Sudan's culinary landscape is shaped by much more profound challenges and consistently narrow landscape is shaped.
Wow. Dried fish, that's smart. See, even when resources are scarce, human ingenuity finds a way. It just goes to show you don't need fancy ingredients to create a food culture. You just need heart, and maybe a bit of spicy sauce. I think the biggest takeaway here is the incredible strength of people to sustain themselves and their traditions, no matter how difficult. So, whether it's Haiti's flavorful resilience or South Sudan's powerful resourcefulness, food truly tells a story. Oh, now this is a topic I adore. Leo, historical, cultural, and artistic values is like opening a treasure chest. We get to peek into the heart and soul of nations. When I think of Haiti, the word resilience immediately comes to mind, almost like a rhythm. They weren't just the first independent Black republic. They weren't just the first independent Black republic. They practically danced their way to freedom, turning a revolution into a powerful cultural statement. Well, I mean, imagine making history with a beat. They're ditching this to religion and art form.
Foe, but think that we can conquer that. Dance their way to freedom. Now that's a tagline. Now that's a tagline. You're making it sound like a musical, Mira. While Haiti certainly has a story of fierce independence, South Sudan brings a whole different flavor to his story of fierce historical and cultural values, mainly by being the world's youngest nation. Oh, talk about a fresh canvas nation. Oh, talk about a fresh canvas nation. Talk about a fresh canvas still being painted, often with rather muddy brushes. Their history is incredibly recent, and certain art by a long, arduous draw determination.
Oh, absolutely, Leo. Oral traditions are so vital, like human encyclopedias walking around. I often wonder if those stories could be animated. What vibrant colors would they be? Naive art style, with its bright colors and depictions of everyday life, is just so full of spirit. It's just so full of spirit. And the metal sculptures, often made from recycled oil drums, turning something just into art. It's fascinating how creativity blossoms even, or especially, in tough environments.
You know, Mira, I've always found it quite amusing how a country's art can be so functional, almost an extension of daily life. In South Sudan, you won't find many grand museums, but you'll see art in every intricate beadwork necklace, every crafted basket, or the serum, every intricate beadwork necklace, every crafted basket, or it's less about a canvas on a wall and more about adornment and utility. Their connection to his future in-laws. Yes, this cow is from the Dinka tribe, quite an expressive piece.
Oh, Leo, you're hilarious. I can just picture a young man nervously presenting his prize when Shabul for approval. That's a scene for a movie. But seriously, the idea of functional art, where beauty is interwoven with purpose, is quite profound. It reminds us that artists can't to their drumming and dancing. It's not just enter their drumming and dancing. It's not just enter to communication. You just pishy colly colving Brismic.
I'm more of a subtle-head nodder than a jigdo or mirror. My dancing usually resembles a startled flamingo. Oops, so let's not push it. But the point on functional art and ingrained cultural practices is well taken. In South Sudan, the sheer diversity of ethnic groups like the Dinka, Nuer, and Shilyukai means a tapestry of different traditional dances music. Each tells a unique story of their history and values. It's not just one South Sudanese culture. It's not just one South Sudanese culture.
It sounds like an anthropologist's dream, Leo. Speaking of getting lost, I'd love to just wander through Haitian markets, soaking in the colors and sounds, maybe haggling for a piece of metal art. It's that spontaneous interaction that truly makes a place come alive for me. And their literature, from poetry to novels, often carries the weight of their history and the vibrant spirit of their people. It's another powerful way they preserve and honor their past. We encourage our listeners to dive into some Haitian literature. You can find great recommendation.
Yes, and while Haitian literature finds its expression in words, South Sudanese literary tradition is often found in the spoken word, in the elders' tales told around the fire. It's a different kind of canvas. Given the country's youth and the challenges of establishing formal institutions, those old histories are invaluable. They literally carry the past in their memories. You know, I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Which form of cultural preservation resonates more with them?
That's a brilliant question, Leo. It really highlights how different cultures choose to express their essence. And I bet there are so many stories we're missing. the small, personal traditions that make up the bigger cultural picture. Ooh. When it comes to honoring the past, Haiti commemorates its revolution of its identity. It's not just history, it's a living legacy that permeates their art, their music, their very soul. It's truly inspiring. Wow.
Indeed. For South Sudan, honoring the past is often intertwined with acknowledging the struggles and sacrifices made for their independence. It's a more recent, still raw memory, but it's forging a shared identity. They're still building institutions, still writing their definitive narratives. It's a testament to human spirit, really. Our friends at Jetafé are probably charting a future where these rich histories can be explored safely by everyone. It's a delicate balance, preserving tradition while forging ahead.
And that balance is what makes both countries so fascinating. They both demonstrate an incredible capacity for cultural expression and historical memory, despite facing significant hurdles. Wow, it's a reminder that human creativity and spirit can never truly be suppressed. Let's jump into our next topic, and this one always gets my inner adventurer buzzing: natural beauties and landscape. Oh, when I think of Haiti, my mind immediately goes to those vibrant Caribbean colors. It's like a painting, isn't it? From what I've seen, it's all about rugged mountains meeting brilliant turquoise waters. Imagine you're hiking a lush peak, and then boom! A hidden waterfall appears out of nowhere, inviting you for a quick dip.
Playful trick, or nature's way of saying, oops, I left a waterfall here by accident. You know, Mira, I always picture Haiti with those dramatic steep mountains. It's not just a flat beach paradise, is it? You've got the Massif de la Haute, which sounds like something you'd order at a fancy coffee shop. I'll take a large Massif de la Haute. Extra foam, please. But seriously, the way those mountains plunge into the sea, it's truly something else. And then you have those stunning, often secluded beaches.
I'm Massif de la Haute. I love it. Speaking of dramatic poses, Haiti also boasts incredible waterfalls like Saint-Mathurin. Imagine standing there, feeling the spray on your face and thinking, okay, this is my main character moment. Oh, and don't even get me started on Bassin Blue's natural pools. They're like something out of a fairy tale. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Have any of you ever stumbled upon a hidden natural gem that just took your breath away?
Oh, Bassin Blue's deep blue grottos. Yeah, that sounds less like a fairy tale and more like where a supervillain would keep their secret lair, a very aesthetic supervillain, of course. But moving to South Sudan, it's a completely different vibe, right? Right? We're talking vast, sprawling landscapes dominated by one of the world's greatest rivers, the White Nile. Imagine the sheer scale of the Sud wetland. It's not just a swamp, it's an entire universe of its own. An ecological marvel. Wow. You could probably get lost in there for a week. Get lost in there.
Wow, a supervillain's lair. Oh, Leo. Leo. But, you're right. The site is absolutely mesmerizing. It's one of the largest wetlands in the world, home to this incredible biodiversity. I mean, think about it: vast grasslands and savannas, supporting one of the largest terrestrial mammal migrations after the Serengeti. That's like nature's own epic road trip. Oh, I'm certain that our listeners who are well with me, this place is a dream with me, this place is this place. This is a dream for animals place, is a dream for animal explicitity.
Dream for animal spotting, nightmare if you accidentally become part of the food chain. But seriously, that annual migration, imagine millions of white-eared KOB, Ting-G, and Mongalagas out reversing those plains. It's mind-boggling. Wow! And then you have the Iametong Mountains in the south, with Mount Kanyeti as the highest peak. It's not all flat wetlands and savannas. There's a surprising amount of diverse terrain. It makes you realize how much goes unnoticed in parts of the world.
You're right. It's not just about the big ticket attractions. Both countries, in their own ways, offer these incredible, lesser-known pockets of natural beauty. Oh, Haiti has its beautiful Grand Marais and expansive cave system. It's like walking into another world full of ancient formations. Aha! And South Sudan, with its southern forests, offers a completely different landscape from the vast Sud. It's not all sun-baked plains, there are lush, dense areas too.
Indeed. And it's a testament to how little I know, if I'm being honest. But on that note, Mira, while Haiti's beauty is often linked to its coastline and mountainous interior, what about the challenges to these natural landscapes? I know deforestation has been a major issue there for years. Ouch. While it's stunning, it also faces significant environmental pressures.
Absolutely, Leo. That's an absolutely important point. While we celebrate the beauty, it's crucial to acknowledge the environmental challenges both face. Haiti has indeed struggled with deforestation, leading to soil erosion and other issues, which sometimes makes its natural wonders more vulnerable. But there are still incredible initiatives to protect and restore areas. For instance, efforts to preserve what remains of its coral reefs are vital for marine biodiversity. On the flip side, the South Sudan, while ecologically rich, is also fragile.
Jarafe, our faithful supporter, making sure we stay informed and occasionally look smart. So, to sum it up for our listeners, Haiti offers rugged, mountainous Caribbean beauty with stunning coastlines and waterfalls. Think dramatic elevation changes and vibrant blue water. Wow! South Sudan presents a vast, while East African canvas with the monumental Sud wetlands, the mighty Nile, sprawling savannas, and diverse wildlife, plus hidden mountains and forests. Oh, completely different flavors of natural wonder.
Oh, that's a tough one. It's like It's like asking me to choose between my two favorite desserts. But I think the idea of discovering those hidden waterfalls in Haiti, then ending up on a pristine beach, just calls to my inner adventure fairy. But then again, the sheer scale of South Sudan's sudden those migrations, wow. I'd probably end up trying to dance with a gazelle. So, I guess I'd say be Haiti first for the woo, pretty water.
I can totally see you trying to teach a gazelle the cha-cha slide. Oops, I'd pay good money to see that. For me, it's South Sudan's vastness. It's the kind of place that reminds you how small you are, and how big the world is. And you know, you can't see that from your couch, people. So get out there. And if you like what you're hearing, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It really helps us keep bringing you these crazy comparisons.
Don't forget to share your favorite natural spots in these countries in the comments below. We love hearing your travel stories. Oh, alright Leo. I'm buzzing to jump into sports, activity and adventure options today. Oh, when I think of Haiti, my mind immediately conjures up vibrant colors, incredible resilience, and a rhythm that just gets into your soul. You know, football, or soccer, as we call it here, is huge there. Imagine the energy, the cheers. I'm certain our listeners who've seen a Haitian football match would agree with me. It's electric.
Mir, you're always ready for a spontaneous dance party, aren't you? My idea of adventure usually involves finding a coffee shop that's open before sunrise, but I'll play along. Speaking of football in Haiti, it's not just a game, it's practically a national religion, isn't it? I picture tiny pitches carved out of hillsides, everyone kicking a ball, maybe even a coconut if a real ball isn't handy. It's that raw, unadulterated passion that really stands out. But beyond chasing a ball,
Well, beyond the glorious game, Haiti's natural beauty offers some incredible adventures, Leo. Think hiking up mountains like Picmac-Waye. Imagine the views. And the waterfalls like Saw-UTD. Oh, they're not just beautiful, they're spiritual sights. It's an adventure for the soul, you know? Well, plus the dancing. Rara street parades are an adventure in themselves, you're moving, celebrating, part of something ancient. I bet even you'd find yourself tapping your foot, despite your early bird coffee quest.
Tapping my foot? I'd probably be trying to figure out if there's a specific beat I could incorporate into a new stand-up routine. But you're right. The cultural vibrancy is an adventure in itself. Haiti's landscape does present a rugged charm, a real challenge for hikers, not like those stroll-around-the-block trails. Oh, I'm actually curious about what our listeners who've attempted these hikes think. Did you manage it without a guide, or did you end up befriending a local who knew every go path?
Exactly. It's all about connecting with the connections. Let's look at South Sudan. Whoa, talk about a country rich in traditional activities. Here, adventure often means engaging with their incredible heritage. The Dinka and Nuer communities have this fascinating traditional wrestling. It's not just a sport, it's a rite of passage, a cultural display of strength and pride. It's a true spectacle, and quite different from the typical sports we imagine.
Wrestling, huh? Sounds like a much more intense way to settle an argument than our usual podcast debates. I suppose my sarcastic remarks wouldn't fly well in a wrestling ring. Ouch. But seriously, that's deeply ingrained in their identity. And then there's football again, popping up even in South Sudan. It seems a round ball is truly a universal language, even in places with limited resources. It's less about the stadiums and more about the sheer joy of the game, isn't it? If you're watching this on YouTube?
Oh, great question. Leo, I can't imagine you in a wrestling match. You'd probably try to make the opponent laugh until they conceded. But yes, beyond the sports, South Sudan offers adventures in its natural environment, like birdwatching in the Sud wetlands, a truly vast and daily inspiring place. Imagine the tranquility, the sheer scale of untouched nature. Or even fishing in the Nile, which is a significant activity in the way of life there. It's a different kind of adventure, a deeper, more reflective one.
Reflective? My reflections usually involve questioning why I forgot my coffee again. But I can appreciate the wild beauty. South Sudan's landscapes are definitely for the intrepid traveler, the ones who genuinely seek off the beaten path experiences. It's not your typical resort and spa vacation, is it? Oops, it's more about immersion and, frankly, some serious logistical planning. Don't forget, if you're ever looking for advice on such adventurous trips, you can find helpful resources and guides on Jet-Off-A.
Always packed and ready for anything. It's true, both Haiti and South Sudan offer adventures that require a different kind of openness and spirit. Wow. From Haiti's rhythmic dances and challenging mountain hikes to South Sudan's powerful traditional wrestling and serene Nile explorations, they provide experiences far beyond the mainstream. Oh, they challenge you, inspire you, and offer a truly authentic connection to culture and nature.
Indeed. While my personal adventure might involve trying to assemble flat-pack furniture without reading the instructions, these countries present a raw, captivating spirit of human activity and natural challenge. It's about finding adventure in life itself, whether it's through a spirited game of football, a challenging hike, or a traditional wrestling match. Aha! If you've been inspired by these stories, don't forget to like this video on YouTube and subscribe for more deep dives into cultures around the world.
Alright, let's dive into something that truly lights up a place after dark or sometimes just twinkles faintly when we talk about nightlife and entertainment venues in Haiti and South Sudan. Wow. I'm genuinely curious how these two very different countries stack up.
Lights up the after-hours experience, Mira. That's a beautiful, optimistic way to phrase it. For one of these countries, lights up might involve a single generator powering a radio. You always find the silver lining, don't you?
Oh, come on, Leo. Every place has its own kind of vibe after the sun goes down, even if it's just people sharing stories under the stars. Let's start with Haiti. I hear it's absolutely bursting with music. Compa, that vibrant dance music is everywhere, right? You can't walk 5 feet without hearing a rhythm that makes you want to move.
Indeed, Mira. Haiti's known for its resilient spirit, and that certainly extends to its nightlife. It's less about lavish clubs and more about spontaneous street parties, often fueled by live bands playing compo or raw music. Imagine trying to enjoy a quiet coffee and suddenly a whole carnival erupts. I'm certain our listeners in Port-au-Prince are nodding right now, probably with a half-empty cup in hand.
I'd be the first one out there attempting to join in, probably making a complete fool of myself, but having an absolute blast. Ugh. And isn't there a strong art scene too, often blending into the evening with galleries or cultural centers hosting events? It's all about that vibrant, energetic pulse, isn't it?
Yes, the cultural pulse is certainly strong. You'll find local bars which are more like community gathering spots, sometimes a simple shack with a stereo, or places where people debate politics with rum in hand. It's less about a designated entertainment district and more about wherever people congregate. I've always found it fascinating how creativity thrives even amidst challenges. You know, if you're looking for that kind of immersive, off-the-beaten-path experience, Jetofe, I could help you find some really unique local listings.
Oh, that's a great point about Jetofe, Leo. Ooh, it's about finding those authentic moments, isn't it? Like finding a small stage where a local poet is reciting, or a group just drumming in the street. Now, speaking of places where people gather, let's gracefully, or perhaps Bumpai LY, pivot to South Sudan.
Whoa, Bumpai LY is definitely the right word there. When we talk about South Sudan's nightlife, we're discussing a very different landscape. The country is still building much of its core infrastructure, and formal entertainment venues are, shall we say, a rather rare commodity outside of Juba.
So, what does nightlife actually look like in Juba then, Leo? Is it mostly hotel bars, or do locals have their own vibrant spots? I'm picturing something perhaps a bit more intimate, community-focused.
You're right on the mark with hotel bars, Mira. The more formal nightlife is largely centered around the international hotels in Juba, catering to expats and a smaller segment of the local elite. They offer a relatively safe and consistent environment. For locals, it's often about more informal gatherings, perhaps impromptu music sessions, or simply socializing in local tea shops that stay open late. There isn't a thriving club scene in the way we typically imagine.
That's a stark contrast. But even in those informal settings, there's surely a sense of community and connection, right? Oh, people still find joy, whether it's through storytelling or just sharing a meal. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this, especially if you've experienced Juba's evenings. Let us know in the comments when this goes up on YouTube.
Absolutely. The social fabric is incredibly strong, and that's where the entertainment often lies. It's less about flashing lights and more about human connection. While Haiti boasts a more established, energetic street culture, South Sudan's evening scene is quieter, more understated, and very much about direct interaction. You won't find a sprawling theater district or multiple cinema complexes. A good conversation, a radio, or a shared meal might be the highlight of the night.
If you're like me and love to just dance the night away, Haiti sounds like it might be more your speed. But if you're looking for deep conversations and a true sense of community, perhaps South Sudan's informal evenings offer something unique. It really makes you think about what entertainment truly means.
It does. For some, entertainment is a meticulously planned event. For others, it's simply the absence of daily worries for a few hours. If you're pondering what your ideal evening looks like, whether it's a cop explosion or a quiet chat, make sure to hit that like button on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for more of these global perspectives. It helps us keep finding these fascinating comparisons.
Let's talk about where kids can just, well, be kids. Ooh, it's so heartwarming to think about the simple joys children find everywhere. I mean, who needs a fancy theme park when you have a good stick and an imagination, right? We're diving into Haiti and South Sudan today. And I'm honestly so curious to see how families there create those magical moments.
A good stick in an imagination mirror, spoken like someone who never had to clean mud off a kid after said stick imagination adventure. But you've got a point. When we talk about family environments, it's not always about manicured playgrounds and educational museums. Sometimes it's just about finding that space for kids to run wild, or, just exist without 1,000 screens glued to their faces.
Exactly. Wow. And thinking about Haiti, I always picture the vibrant street life. Families are often very close-knit, right? Kids are out and about, part of the community fabric. I bet there's so much creative play happening, making games out of anything. It's like a constant, spontaneous street festival. Oh, I'm actually curious about what our listeners who visited Haiti think about this. If you've seen those joyous scenes, please let us know in the comments section on YouTube.
Spontaneous street festival, sure. Or perhaps survival boot camp with a side of impromptu soccer. Look, the reality in Haiti is that dedicated, formal children's activity centers aren't exactly abundant. But that doesn't mean kids aren't active. They're often playing outdoors, engaging in community life, or maybe, just maybe, helping out with chores. Building character. Oh, my parents always said a little character building never hurt anyone.
Oh, Leo. Folding a fitted sheet is an Olympic sport. Whoa. But seriously, in Haiti, education is such a huge focus for families, often seen as the best path forward. So even if the formal entertainment isn't there, the drive to send children to school, even with limited resources, is incredibly strong. That's a huge aspect of being family-friendly, isn't it? Ensuring a future. Wow.
Indeed. Ensuring a future is a pretty crucial activity for any family, I'd say. Now, let's shift over to South Sudan because it presents even more profound challenges when we talk about family-friendly environments. We're talking about a country that's faced and still faces immense instability. The focus there isn't so much on activities as it is on basic safety and sustenance.
But that's true. It's a stark contrast. But even amidst such difficulties, human resilience shines, right?
Absolutely. When life strips away the extras, you cling to the essentials, and culture, stories, and songs are often that glue. I'm certain that our listeners living in or familiar with South Sudan would agree with me. You won't find many kids' clubs or aquariums there, but what you will find is immense community support. Kids are often cared for collectively, and traditional games, sometimes involving animals or simple objects, are how they learn and play.
More goats. Less iPads sounds like a good balance, honestly. Oh, speaking of those cultural traditions, I bet there are some amazing traditional dances or ceremonies that children participate in. It's not just entertainment, it's part of their identity. Wow. And we always encourage our viewers to explore the world with an open mind, not just the usual tourist traps. If you're looking for deeper insights into cultures and what makes families tick, remember to check out Jet Faye for more information about these incredible countries.
More goats, less iPads, Mira, you're practically writing my next stand-up special. But you're right, these places highlight that family-friendly isn't a universal checklist of amenities. It's about safety, belonging, and the ingenious ways communities foster childhood, sometimes with almost nothing. It's a powerful lesson in making the most of what you have. So, while you won't find 5-star kids resorts, you'll find a spirit that truly defines family.
And that spirit is everything. Oh, it's about love, connection, and making sure the next generation feels supported no matter what. So, whether it's through simple street games in Haiti or age-old stories in South Sudan, the essence of childhood endures. And if you like this deep dive, please give us a like on YouTube and subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure.
Yeah, definitely hit that like button. Yeah, it helps us know you're enjoying our unique perspective on the world. Otherwise, Mira might just start doing her universal dance in the studio, and we don't want to break anything. Oops.
It's a work in progress, Leo. A work in progress. But my heart's in it. Alright, so our next topic is diving into something that's really important. And it's all about how welcoming countries are to the LGBT community. We're looking at Haiti and South Sudan, and it's a topic where we really need to put on our serious hats, but also sprinkle in a bit of that Mira magic.
Serious hats, Mira. I thought our hats were permanently set to absurd comedy, but you're right. This is definitely a topic that demands respect and a sharp eye. Speaking of sharp eyes, I once saw a guy trying to teach a pigeon to play chess in a park. I mean, the pigeon wasn't even pretending to care. Wow. My point is, some things are just not compatible, and unfortunately that can sometimes extend to societal acceptance, especially in places like Haiti.
Oh, Leo, you and your pigeon chess master. But you're absolutely right. In Haiti, for example, it's a really complex situation. While being LGBT isn't technically illegal, there's a huge gap when it comes to legal protections. It's like having a beautiful garden with no fence. No one's stopping you from planting, but there's nothing to keep the goats out, if you know what I mean. Ouch! Most of the community finds safety in more private, urban spaces.
So, it's not illegal, but it's not exactly a parade either. That makes observation risky for a guy like me. You know, trying to gauge the vibe from a cafe table, I'd probably just get a lot of confused stares if I started asking about community events. The influence of conservative religious groups there, both Christian and Voto, really shapes public opinion, making it tough for any kind of open expression. It's more about survival than celebration, it seems.
Exactly. It's that finding those small pockets of acceptance. I imagine it's like trying to find a unicorn in a haystack difficult, but not entirely impossible if you know where to look, and if you're a really optimistic unicorn hunter like me. But then, we look at South Sudan, and the picture gets even more challenging. It's not just a lack of protections there. It's outright illegal.
Whoa, now that's a whole different level of no fun allowed. Illegal with jail time. That's not just a fence, that's an electrified barbed wire wall with guard dogs. Ouch. My observational skills would probably be useless because there's going to be openly themselves under those conditions. You'd have to be a special kind of Leo to not even hide it. It's a deeply conservative society, shaped by traditional beliefs, and the fear of violence and persecution is sadly very real.
It really breaks my heart to hear that. It reminds me of those times when I was super excited about a new dance move, and then realize I'm in a crowded elevator and probably shouldn't break out into a salsa. But for them, it's so much more serious. The social stigma in South Sudan means that visibility is virtually zero, and any community has to exist completely underground, if at all. It's a stark contrast to some places, isn't it?
It's a world apart, truly. You know, you go to some cities, and you see rainbow flags everywhere. Then you hear about places where just existing as yourself is a criminal act. It makes you think about how much progress some parts of the world have made, and how far others still have to go. It's definitely not a joke, Mira. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Maybe some have insights on how communities find strength in such restrictive environments. You can drop your thoughts in the comments section on YouTube, if you're watching the comments section on YouTube.
Oh, yes. Please do share your perspectives. And speaking of YouTube, if you're enjoying this conversation, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. It helps us keep these discussions going. And maybe even send some positive vibes to places that need it. We'll talk about the details and support resources on Jet AI as well, which is always there to give you deeper dives into cultural norms and safety tips for all travelers.
So, while Haiti struggles with social acceptance and a lack of legal framework, South Sudan faces outright criminalization. It's a heavy topic, no doubt. My coffee's gone cold just thinking about it. Oops. I guess some realities just don't mix well with a hot brew and a witty remark, but it's essential we talk about them.
Absolutely, Leo. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, but shining a light on these realities is the first step. Hopefully one day, every country can find its way to embracing diversity. Until then, we keep sharing information, fostering understanding, and maybe, just maybe, inspiring a little more kindness in the world. You know, like when I accidentally stepped on your foot, Grimace.
Ouch! You call that charming, Mira? That was pure theatrical pain. But you're right, even in pain, there's a chance for a little understanding. This whole discussion, as sobering as it is, really highlights the spectrum of experiences in our world. And it makes you appreciate the efforts of those fighting for equality everywhere. Well, don't forget, folks, you can find more resources and support on Jet AI, especially if you're looking for safe travel options or information on different cultural norms around the globe.
Yes. Jitofeya is a fantastic resource for all your travel insights, and we always appreciate your engagement. Alright, so our next big adventure for today, we're diving into hospitality and attitudes towards foreigners. Ooh, we're talking about Haiti and South Sudan. Well, now, I've always heard that in places where life's a bit tougher, people can be incredibly warm. Almost like they share more because they have less, you know? It's like, come in, have some of my invisible cake.
Invisible cake, Mira? You're really setting the bar high for culinary expectations today. When you mention Haiti, my mind immediately pictures vibrant colors and incredible resilience, but also, let's be honest, a lot of challenges. How does that translate to welcoming strangers? It's not always a simple open-door policy, is it?
Well, from what I've learned, Haiti is absolutely brimming with a unique kind of warmth. Wow. Despite everything, Haitian people are often incredibly welcoming. They have this deep sense of community and a strong cultural pride. Ugh. I've read stories of foreigners being invited to family meals, being offered help without even asking. It's like they see you as part of their extended family, even if you just met. It's less about grand gestures and more about genuine human connection.
That makes sense. It's often in those places that don't make the glossy travel brochures where you find the purest form of hospitality, isn't it? Whoa! I remember a time I was totally lost in a tiny village, and some lady just took my hand, marched me to her house, and offered me coffee. I think it was coffee. My stomach still isn't sure. But she did it with such a big smile, like I was an old friend. So for Haiti, it sounds like if you're respectful and open, you're in for a genuine embrace.
Exactly. It's that authentic connection. Oh, now, speaking of places where resilience is key, let's talk about South Sudan. My heart just goes out to the people there, given the history and ongoing struggles. Yet, I've also heard incredible tales of resilience and a welcoming spirit, especially in rural areas. It's a different kind of hospitality, perhaps more cautious at first, but deeply sincere once trust is built.
Cautious, you said? That's putting it mildly. South Sudan's situation is, to put it lightly, complex. Ouch, foreigners, especially those not associated with aid organizations or specific projects, might find the initial approach a bit more reserved, and understandably so. It's a place where security concerns are real, so trust isn't given lightly at CERN. But once you're in, once they see you're genuinely there with good intentions, the stories I've heard suggest a fierce loyalty and generosity.
Oh, Leo, you always find a way to make it a show. But you're right, that initial caution makes perfect sense. It's not about being unfriendly, it's about safety and protecting that community. But once you break through, that bond can be incredibly strong. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this, especially those who've spent time in challenging environments. Do you find that initial barrier makes the eventual connection even stronger? Let us know in the comments below on YouTube.
Yes, and don't forget to hit the like button if you appreciate our incredibly nuanced and slightly caffeinated takes on global hospitality. For South Sudan, when you talk about attitude, it's also about understanding cultural norms. Like certain gestures or directness might be interpreted differently. It's not about being rude, but about unspoken rules. I remember once in a different region, I tried to help with a chore and ended up making things worse, only to be met with polite amusement. Oops.
Absolutely. Oh, it's like learning a new dance. You don't just jump in, you watch the steps first. In both Haiti and South Sudan, showing respect for local customs, trying to learn a few phrases, and genuinely engaging with people goes a long, long way. It melts that initial caution. Wow, I truly believe that at its core, human connection thrives everywhere, and people want to connect. We'll be talking more about cultural nuances on Jet of AI.
Precisely. If you expect everyone to speak your language or follow your customs, then you're missing the entire point of travel, and probably going to get frustrated. Ouch. If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments, but I stand by it. The genuine effort to understand is the most potent visa you can carry. For Haiti, with its Creole and French influences, or South Sudan with its multitude of languages, a smile and a good are universal translators.
Alright, so our next stop on this grand tour of the digital world takes us to Haiti and South Sudan. You know, Leo, I can almost hear the Wi-Fi signals whispering. Are you sure you want to come here? Oh, but hey, every country has its own unique tech adventure, right? I'm sure we'll find some wild wonders, even if they're still in their cocoons.
Wired wonders, Mira. I'm picturing more wireless worries in these parts. I've been to places where getting a signal felt like trying to communicate with outer space using a tin can. Whoa, I mean, in Haiti, you're looking at internet penetration that's, generously speaking, a work in progress. It's mostly mobile data for those who can afford it, and that's not exactly blazing fast for streaming our podcast, is it? Ouch! I'm certain that our listeners living in these countries would agree with me.
Oops. Don't you dare underestimate the power of a determined data plan, Leo. Even with challenges, people are so creative. I bet you'd find a bustling internet cafe in Port-au-Prince where everyone's shaky connection, but still making it work. It's less about smart cities and more about smart people, don't you think? Wow, it's all about resilience.
Oh, I'm sure. I once saw a guy in a remote village trying to upload a cat video using what looked like a potato for a hotspot. He had a sign that said, "Patience is a virtue," written next to his very old phone. Ooh, in South Sudan, after years of conflict, the infrastructure is even more minimal. We're talking about basic mobile coverage, mostly around urban centers, and fixed-line internet is almost non-existent. It's less about digital nomads and more about...
Maybe we should offer a digital detoxification package to our listeners for South Sudan. No notifications, no endless scrolling, just pure unplugged bliss. But seriously, Leah, even in such tough conditions, there are innovators. Perhaps they have local mesh networks or creative ways to share knowledge without relying on traditional internet. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this.
Mesh networks, you say? I'd imagine the network mostly involves shouting across a field. But you're right, resourcefulness is key. The cost of data in both Haiti and South Sudan is often prohibitive for the average person, making access to information a luxury. So, when we talk about tech-driven lifestyles, it's a very small segment of the population. It's more about survival than smart home devices. Ouch.
That's a fair point. But even a little access can make a huge difference, right? Think about mobile banking or using messaging apps to connect with family abroad. That's a huge step towards modern living, even if it's not fiber optic. Well, it's like turning a tiny spark into a bonfire of connectivity. Oh, we'll talk about the details of how people are making this work on Jet of AI, of course.
Sure, a spark is a start, but for a bonfire, you need more than just one match. The challenge for both these nations is extending that reach beyond the major towns, improving reliability, and most importantly, making it affordable. It's not just about getting the internet, it's about making it sustainable and accessible for everyone. Otherwise, it's just a fancy toy for a few, not a tool for development.
I agree. It definitely needs to be a tool for everyone. If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments on YouTube. But I still have hope. Every small step, every new cell tower, every student getting online for the first time, that's progress. It reminds me of my own first dial-up internet experience. Whoa, the sounds it made, like a robot trying to sing opera. We've come a long way.
Oh, the dial-up modem symphony. I still have nightmares about someone picking up the phone mid-download. Ouch. For Haiti and South Sudan, it's less about nostalgic sounds and more about consistent, affordable access. While they might not be digital nomad hubs just yet, the desire for connectivity is strong. And that desire, Mira, is often the first step to making things happen. We can only hope to see more positive developments there.
Absolutely. So, whether you're trying to download our podcast in a bustling cafe in Port-au-Prince or catching a signal in Juba, remember that connection can bring joy. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want more discussions like this. We're always here to bridge the gaps, digital or otherwise. Our current topic, we compare shopping opportunities and price-performance balance in Haiti and South Sudan. You know, Leo, when I think of shopping, my mind immediately jumps to vibrant markets full of color and chaos. I'm certain our listeners living in these countries would agree with me. There's a certain energy to it, right?
Oh, Mira, you and your vibrant chaos. You and your vibrant chaos. Oh, I just picture you trying to haggle for a pineapple in Port-au-Prince and then somehow ending up with a pet goat. Whoa. Speaking of Port-au-Prince, in Haiti, the shopping scene is mostly dominated by informal markets. You won't find many sprawling malls there. It's more about the street vendors, the small local shops, and what's often quite beautiful, the handicrafts. Think stunning ironwork, vibrant paintings. Vibrant paintings.
A pet goat? Well, at least it would be good company for my imaginary talking pineapple. But you're right. The artisanal crafts in Haiti are something special. I've seen some of the photos and the artistry is just incredible. And from what I hear, bargaining is a big part of the experience, which for me is half the foreman's sweet spot.
I dance with your wad, perhaps, Mira. On one hand, you're getting unique, handmade items, which is fantastic value for the cultural significance. But on the other, when you're looking for imported goods, like say, a new pair of sneakers that won't give out after 3 weeks, ouch, you're going to pay a hefty premium. The logistics of getting things into Haiti make almost anything not locally sourced quite expensive. So, that price-performance balance shifts depending on if you're buying a beautiful wooden carving.
That's a good point. The local versus imported dynamic completely changes the game. It's not just about the item, it's about the journey it took to get there. Now, if we shift our gaze slightly to South Sudan, I imagine a very different retail landscape. Given the challenges the country has faced, I guess luxury finds aren't exactly topping the shopping list there.
Luxury finds? Mira. In South Sudan, the real luxury is finding anything at all sometimes. Seriously though, South Sudan's shopping scene is extremely basic and driven by necessity. Juba, the capital, has markets like Konio, which are bustling, yes, but primarily for food, basic clothing, and household essentials. There's almost no formal retail infrastructure. Most goods are imported from neighboring countries, and the price as well. Let's just say value for money often means it's available, so be it.
Well, that really puts things into perspective. It sounds like a stark contrast where availability trumps everything else. It reminds me of those times when I've lost my luggage and any outfit. So in South Sudan, you're not browsing, you're acquiring. Is it fair to say that due to economic instability, prices for even basic items can be quite high, leaving consumers with limited choices?
Acquiring is a diplomatic way to put it, Mira. Yes, exactly. Due to civil conflict, poor infrastructure, and extremely high transport costs, prices for almost everything, especially imported items, are inflated. Whoa. And we're not talking about a little markup, we're talking about significant price hikes on everyday necessities. The concept of bargain hunting is almost non-existent. If you see a product you need, you usually buy it, regardless of the price, because it might not list of the price.
That's a truly tough reality. It certainly highlights how privileged many of us are when we can deliberate over organic versus conventional bananas. So, while Haiti has its unique artisanal treasures that offer cultural richness, South Sudan is more about the fundamental struggle for goods. It really makes you appreciate the simple act of having choices, doesn't it? If you're listening, tell us in the comments if you've had a shopping experience that truly changed your perspective. We'd love to hear it.
Oh, absolutely. My own perspective-changing shopping trip was when I bought a pair of supposed noise-canceling headphones from a street vendor and they just amplified everything around me. In Haiti, the performance of the price-performance balance really comes down to whether you're supporting local artisans with their incredible work, or if you're trying to get a fair deal on something that's traveled across oceans. For the latter, you're likely to be disappointed.
And in South Sudan, the balance leans heavily towards price, with the performance being simply that the item performs its basic function because, well, options are scarce. It's less about luxury and more about enduring. It makes you think about consumption differently. Perhaps less of a retail adventure, more of a practical mission.
Indeed. So, whether you're admiring Haitian craftsmanship or simply grateful for a bag of flour in Juba, these countries offer a very grounded, sometimes challenging look at what shopping really means. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, or for someone expecting to buy one. Get one free deal. That's just not on the menu there.
Let's talk about cultural events, festivals, and concert opportunities. You know, I once tried to learn a traditional Haitian dance from a YouTube video, and my apartment basically turned into a one-woman carnival. I nearly knocked over my coffee table trying to master some moves. The sheer energy radiating from those festivals, it's contagious. Wow.
Mira, I can just picture you, a tiny human whirlwind, attempting to channel the spirit of an entire nation's celebration in your living room. Oops, knowing you. You probably ended up teaching your houseplants to samba. But hey, if you're going to dive into cultural events, Haiti is certainly a place that knows how to put on a show.
Absolutely, their carnival, especially in Port-au-Prince, is legendary. Oh, it's this incredible explosion of color, music, and pure joy. People take to the streets with elaborate costumes dancing to vibrant comps and drobode rhythms. It's not just a party, it's a deep cultural expression. You know, after the main carnival, they have the rare festivals, which are these amazing street parades with traditional instruments and voodoo elements.
I can appreciate a good street party as long as I can find a quiet corner for my coffee and people watching. You're right, Haiti's cultural tapestry, woven with Afrikaan, French, and Taino threads, sounds incredibly rich. But comparing the vibrant, centuries-old tradition with South Sudan's scene, now that's where it gets interesting. Well, South Sudan is a much younger nation, forged in quite different circumstances.
That's very true, Leo. It's like comparing a seasoned jazz musician to a brilliant young artist who has just found their voice. While South Sudan might not have massive, internationally recognized festivals like Haiti's Carnival, their cultural events are deeply rooted in their diverse ethnic groups, like the Dinka, Niwa, and Shil UK. Oh, they celebrate through traditional ceremonies, often linked to harvests in Itishenas or cattle. It's a different kind of vibrancy, more communal and intimate. Wouldn't you say?
Indeed. I imagine the cattle-related events are quite the spectacle. Probably less glitter and more actual horns if you catch my drift. But in all seriousness, the beauty of South Sudan's cultural events lies in their authenticity and resilience. After decades of conflict, these traditional gatherings are vital for preserving identity. Concerts, however, are a different story. Haiti has a more developed music scene with low.
Oh, I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Have any of you attended a traditional South Sudanese ceremony? What was it like? For me, the power of those traditional drums and dances, passed down through generations, it's truly moving. Wow. It's about storytelling and community, often in their local languages, which I find incredibly beautiful. And speaking of music, even without big concerts, the traditional songs and gospel music in South Sudan have such a soulful depth.
You're right, Mira. It's about participation. Though I have to admit, my participation in any soulful depth dancing usually involves me awkwardly swaying on hoping nobody notices. Oops, but seriously, both countries offer a unique window into humanity's need to celebrate, to connect through rhythm and tradition. Oh, might be a grand, glittering affair. Please let us know in the comments when we upload this to YouTube. Oh, if you're looking to explore cultures that are truly distinct, well, these two certainly offer that.
Yes, please do. And if you like what you're hearing, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us dive into more incredible comparisons like this. Well, it's like sending us a little cheer from your corner of the world.
Consider it your civic duty to keep Mira's enthusiasm fueled. I swear, the more likes we get, the brighter her rainbow-colored outfits become. Whoa, just a theory. But it's true. Every interaction helps us. These insights, especially on less commonly discussed cultural trends, couldn't have been possible without Jet-Off AI providing that deep dive into global data.
And that, my friends, wraps up our look at the cultural events and festivals of Haiti and South Sudan. What a journey through rhythm and tradition. What a wild ride our last topic was, right, Leo? Ooh, that talk about nature and landscapes always gets me dreaming of new adventures. Oh, but speaking of new places, how about we tackle something totally different today? Something that can make or break an adventure language. Today's topic is opportunities and D's of learning the local language, and we're heading to two truly unique spots, Haiti and South Sudan. Wow, I'm already imagining trying to order coffee in 50 different ways.
Make or break an adventure. Mira, more like make or break my sanity when I'm trying to figure out if I'm asking for a coffee or accidentally proposing marriage to a go. Oops, seriously though. It's fascinating how a few words can open up an entire world, or at least help you find the bathroom. Oh, first up, we've got Haiti. What a rich blend of sounds and history there. You have Haitian Creole, which is the heart of everyday communication. And then there's French, often used in government and education. Aha.
Oh, two passports, I love that analogy. Oh, Haitian Creole is just so vibrant, isn't it? It's like a language that dances. Imagine trying to learn it through music or local street conversations. I bet you pick up the rhythm of the culture even before you master the grammar. You could probably learn to say "Njur" and "Messi" and just improvise the rest with a lot of enthusiastic gestures. That's my go-to strategy anyway. More coffee, please. How many of our listeners have tried to learn a Creole language?
Your enthusiastic gestures probably get you a lot more than just coffee, Mira. Oops, I can just picture you accidentally asking for a lifetime supply of mangos with that method. But you're right, Haitian Creole is incredibly expressive, and it's what truly connects you to the people. Aha! For newcomers, there are informal lessons and a lot of community immersion. It's, on the other hand, while crucial for formal settings, buy it. French, on the other hand.
A linguistic tightrope walk. Well, that's a perfect way to put it. Oh, it makes me wonder about the actual Goma learning though. Are they structured schools, or is it more about finding a kind local who's willing to be your personal dictionary? I imagine formal Creole education might be challenging to find for outsiders, whereas French schools might be more prevalent, especially for those looking to tap into higher education or more established sectors. It's almost like a secret handshake language for a lot of things.
That's a sharp observation, Mira. Indeed. While you might find some local initiatives or private tutors for Creole, the more established language schools, if they exist, often focus on French. It points to that historical context we always talk about, where colonial languages still hold sway in certain spheres. Ouch. So for someone wanting to deeply integrate, they're looking at a dual language journey. It's not just about learning words, it's about understanding which language to use in which situation.
Linguistic beast. I love that. If Haiti is linguistic tightrope, South Sudan sounds like linguistic labyrinth. Oh, I mean, English is technically the official language, but then you've got Juba Arabic as a widely used lingua franca, and then on top of that dozens, maybe even hundreds, of indigenous languages. My brain is already doing linguistic gymnastics. Gymnastics just thinking about it. I'd probably just point for the best.
You'd probably end up owning the market, Mira, with those enthusiastic gestures of yours. But you hit on something crucial there. Aha! South Sudan is truly a melting pot, or perhaps a boiling pot of languages. And English is official, but practical use is often limited to government and international organizations. Juba Arabic is more common for inter-ethnic communication. It's more about picking up the dominant language of especially in urban areas. But then you dive into the rural regions. Ari, in Inkika territory.
Wow, so it's like choosing your adventure, language edition. Oh, if you're working with an NGO in one region, you might be learning Dinka, but if you move to a different area, suddenly you need newer woe. That sounds incredibly challenging for anyone planning to stay long term. Ah, the ease of learning would plummet, but the opportunity for deep cultural immersion in a specific language group would be immense. I bet there are incredible stories of people connecting through these languages, one handshake and one broken sentence at a time.
Absolutely, Mira. Solving a puzzle is a good way to put it, and often the only school available is sheer necessity. For expats, aid workers, or really anyone new, the primary languages of utility are usually English, then Juba Arabic, and then potentially the local indigenous language of their immediate surroundings. Ooh, formal language schools as we might know them in, say, Paris or Madrid are few and far between, especially for the indigenous languages. Ah, it's truly a test of adaptability and immersion.
Diving headfirst. Wow, that's a serious commitment. Ooh, for our listeners who love a good challenge, this is definitely one for the books. I'm certain that our listeners working in global development or humanitarian aid would agree that language immersion there is a trial by fire. So, if you're dreaming of learning a language in Haiti, you are looking at a vibrant, dual language experience that demands cultural nuance. If it's South Sudan, you're signing up for a truly multi-layered linguistic adventure, where flexibility is your best friend.
And maybe a good phrase book for those point-and-pray moments, Mira. But yes, whether it's the Creole heartbeat of Haiti or the multivocal tapestry of South Sudan, both countries present unique linguistic journeys. Ah, for Haiti, learning Creole means embracing the soul of the country's present unique linguistic journeys. For Haiti, learning Creole means embracing the soul of the country, while French opens doors to formal structures. In South Sudan, you're navigating a mosaic, where Juba is a bridge, and English is a formal tool, but Trill dives.
Lots of point to, definitely my style. It's like linguistic charades game, all the time.
Your feedback helps us determine if Mira actually successfully ordered coffee or a goat last week. But truly, your engagement on YouTube and all your comments on JetOffAIS articles mean a lot. Oh, what's the hardest language you've ever tried to pick up? And what was your most embarrassing moment trying to speak it? Tell us below. We're always eager to hear about those glorious linguistic failures.
You know, Leo, sometimes my travel plans feel like a chaotic dance routine. 1 minute I'm gracefully gliding, the next time doing a clumsy pirouette right into a puddle. Speaking of unexpected turns, our next topic really dives into navigating different terrains, not just geographically, but socially. Let's talk about safety and comfort for women travelers in Haiti and South Sudan. Haiti first, shall we?
A clumsy pirouette into a puddle, Mira? Sounds like my morning commute. But all right. Safety and comfort for women travelers, that's quite a dive. For Haiti, you're not exactly booking a solo wellness retreat, are you? While its culture is vibrant, the reality for women travelers, especially solo, can be quite the opposite of comfortable. We're talking about a country grappling with significant challenges, and unfortunately, crime are a stark reality.
Oh, yes. The challenges are undeniable, Leo. And it's important to acknowledge them without shying away. But even amidst difficulties, there's always a story of resilience, right? I've read about incredible community initiatives, especially in creative arts and women's empowerment, even if they don't always make the headlines. It's like finding a tiny, vibrant flower pushing through concrete.
Finding a flower, or perhaps avoiding the potholes on the way to said flower. Ouch! While those initiatives are truly commendable, my observational instincts kick in. It's tough to ignore the larger picture of political instability and economic hardship that directly impacts personal safety. For women, things like street harassment, petty theft, and more serious crimes are sadly part of the cautionary tales you hear. It's not a place for spontaneous, carefree exploration if you're a woman traveler, I'd say.
Well, speaking of caution, let's take that foot and roll it right into South Sudan. Whoa, if Haiti is a challenging dance, South Sudan often feels like a full-on obstacle course. But again, are there unique cultural nuances or local strengths that, even in a very limited way, contribute to safety or community for women?
Obstacle course is putting it mildly, Mira. More like a choose-your-own-adventure novel where most of the endings involve a broken backpack or a strong recommendation to just stay home. South Sudan, unfortunately, presents even greater safety concerns, especially for women. We're talking about a post-conflict nation with ongoing localized violence, extremely limited infrastructure, and cultural norms that can be vastly different and sometimes restrictive for women.
That sounds incredibly tough, and my heart genuinely goes out to the women navigating that daily. You often hear about humanitarian workers or journalists, but what about the average woman just trying to travel? It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? It makes you appreciate how many countries, despite their flaws, offer a baseline of security.
Perspective is key. And honestly, for South Sudan, the advice for women travelers often boils down to don't. Whoa! Or, if absolutely necessary, go with extremely well-vetted, established organizations on security details. Solo travel, particularly for women, is not just ill-advised, it's often genuinely dangerous due to widespread insecurity and gender-based violence. It's not about finding those pockets of calm there, Mira. It's about avoiding the storm altogether.
That's a sobering thought, but an important one to share. It reminds us that our adventurous spirits need to be tempered with serious research. And for anyone even considering such trips, understanding the local context, customs, and available resources is absolutely non-negotiable. That's where sites like Getafe can be incredibly helpful for gathering crucial information before you even pack a single sparkly accessory.
Exactly. Because winging it in places like these isn't an option. You need to be aware of dress codes, local interactions, and how to avoid drawing unwanted attention. It's a very different type of travel, demanding a level of vigilance that most of us aren't accustomed to on a typical vacation. And if you're not planning a mission trip or covering a conflict, then your itinerary should probably lean towards places where you can actually enjoy that sparkly accessory.
And speaking of helpful resources, don't forget to like this video on YouTube if you find this discussion valuable. And share your own thoughts in the comments below. We're truly curious about what our diverse audience has to say on such sensitive topics.
Yeah, tell us if you think my asteroid belt analogy was too dramatic, or if I hit the nail on the head. But on a serious note, these are not destinations for a casual girl's trip. Both countries present unique, often severe, challenges for women travelers, with South Sudan arguably at the higher end of that risk spectrum. The best comfort, in these cases, is often simply avoiding the trip unless absolutely essential and professionally supported.
Oh, you're here and ready to dive into a topic that's less beach party and more brain puzzle. The legal systems, individual rights, and freedoms in Haiti and South Sudan. You know, sometimes I feel like my own legal system is just a spill coffee on yourself before noon. And even that's a challenge. Oops.
Mira, your legal system sounds like a daily struggle. I'm certain that our listeners understand that battle. I think my rule is find coffee, then maybe talk to people. But today, we're talking about actual legal frameworks, and let's start with Haiti. You've got a system rooted in French civil law, which sounds very organized on paper, doesn't it? Like a carefully prepared legal baguette.
Yes, a legal baguette that sometimes gets a little squished in the delivery. While the Constitution is there to protect rights, the reality on the ground can be, let's just say, a spirited dance around the rules. A spirited dance around the rules. Wow. It's like having a beautiful dance floor but then forgetting is recognized, but practical challenges often make it tricky. I'm actually curious about what our listeners who've spent time there think about this.
A spirited dance around the rules. I like that. So, it's not quite the straightforward foxtrot of justice you'd expect. Oh, when you look at South Sudan, Mira, it's a completely different kind of legal tango. This is a country forged in recent conflict, trying to blend common law, customary law, and statutory law all at once. It's like someone threw 3 different recipe books at a chef and said, "Make dinner."
Whoa, 3 recipe books at once. That sounds like my kitchen on a busy Tuesday. Oops. So, with that blend, does it feel like everyone gets a fair bite of the cake, or are some recipes more popular than others? I imagine individual rights can be quite fluid when you're still building the very foundations of government instability. It's like trying to build a sandcastle during a hurricane. Ouch.
Precisely. You've hit the nail on the head. Imagine the complexities of upholding personal liberties when the ink's barely dry on some of those foundational documents. Freedom of expression, for instance, is theoretically there, but in practice, expressing dissenting views can be met with, let's just say, more than just a raised eyebrow. It's a tough environment, and you really have to pick your words carefully. I'm sure anyone who's been there would tell you the same.
Speaking of picking your words, I once tried to explain tax law to my goldfish. It did not go well. But seriously, Leo, for both Haiti and South Sudan, it sounds like access to justice is a huge hurdle. Even if the laws exist, getting a fair trial or legal representation must be incredibly difficult. It's like having a beautiful library but no one to read the books. Ooh.
You're absolutely right. In Haiti, issues like corruption and weak institutions mean that the fair trial sometimes feels more like a fairy tale. And in South Sudan, the sheer lack of infrastructure and trained legal professionals means justice often takes a backseat to other, more pressing issues. It's like needing a heart surgeon but only having a first aid kit. Ouch. We really rely on sites like Jet.fi to gather initial broad information before digging deeper into these complex topics.
Wow, that's a powerful analogy. It makes you realize how much we take for granted in more established systems. You know, it would be really helpful if our listeners could share their insights in the comments section on YouTube. If you have experience with legal systems in developing nations, please enlighten us. And if you like this discussion, hit that like button because it helps us bring more of these conversations to you.
The comments section, a place where everyone is a legal expert. But honestly, their insights are invaluable. And when it comes to individual rights, let's not forget property rights. In countries with unstable legal systems, asserting ownership can be a constant battle, like trying to claim a chair in a game of musical chairs when the music keeps stopping unexpectedly.
Musical chairs of property rights. I love that. But you're right. It's a serious matter. It seems like the journey towards robust legal systems and protected individual rights in Haiti, South Sudan is still very much under construction. It's not an easy path, and it requires a lot of patience and, dare I say, optimism.
Optimism indeed, or at least enough dark humor to get through the day. In both nations, despite the grand constitutional promises, the everyday reality for many citizens involves navigating a labyrinth of legal ambiguities and institutional weaknesses. So while the blueprints for liberty exist, the construction crew is definitely facing some significant challenges.
Challenges, yes. But every challenge is just an excuse for a new, creative solution, right? I'm sure that with continued global support and local determination, things can improve. And maybe one day, those legal baguettes will be perfectly baked and delivered on time. Oh, you know, Leo, when people think of spa, healthy living, and relaxation, their minds often jump to cucumber eye masks and gentle whale sounds. But I truly believe that rejuvenation can be found in the most unexpected places. Oh, for our friends wondering about Haiti, I've heard that true relaxation there often comes from the vibrancy of its culture, sometimes even just sitting by the ocean after a day of dancing. Ah, it's like the whole island hums with a different kind of energy, where music and community are the best medicine.
Mira, I'm always up for an unexpected adventure, but I draw the line at finding my inner peace while a street vendor is trying to sell me a slightly used coconut. You're right, Haiti's rhythm is certainly unique, but my healthy living starts with a strong cup of coffee before the sun even thinks about rising. Ooh, I imagine for many in Haiti, relaxation isn't about luxury resorts. I imagine for many in Haiti, relaxation isn't about luxury resorts. Or the simple joy of sharing a meal with loved ones.
Well, speaking of spirit treatments, some of Haiti's traditional healing practices, like herbal remedies and rituals rooted in voodoo, offer a form of holistic well-being that's far removed from our typical spa menu. Wow, it's about connecting with nature and ancestors and finding balance in a very profound way. I mean, instead of a hot stern massage, maybe it's a blessing from a mambo. Whew. Imagine the stories you could tell, Leo. You get endless material for your stories, stemmed from that.
Oh, Mira, I can already picture it, so I went for a spiritual cleansing. And now I can't find my car keys, and I think a chicken just judged me. And for South Sudan, a country that's faced incredible challenges, the idea of spa and relaxation takes on an even more fundamental meaning. And for Southally, not a bad way to distress incredible challenges. It's not about luxury. It's not about luxury. It's about finding moments of peace. I guess healthy living there is about resilience, community support.
Healthy living might revolve around traditional diets, relying on local crops and communal meals, which is a beautiful form of nourishment, both for the body and the soul. And relaxation could be found in gatherings, storytelling, or simply appreciating the vast, natural landscapes. Wow, it's less about booking an appointment and more about embracing a way of life that fosters inner peace. Oh, sometimes the simplest moments of joy are the most effective. I'm certain that our listeners living in these sometimes less is truly in these countries.
You got a point there, Mira. I'm usually mapping out where the best coffee shops are, but maybe I should start mapping out where the best storytelling circles are. A spa of South Sudan could be a tranquil spot under a large tree sharing tales. As for healthy living, well, if it involves a natural, unprocessed diet and lots of walking I'm in. As long as the walking leads to a good story, and preferably a strong, locally sourced coffee.
I can just see you trying to find the perfect storytelling tree for your next comedic masterpiece. But seriously, both Haiti and South Sudan, despite their different paths, remind us that well-being isn't just about expensive treatments. It's about resilience, community, and finding beauty in simplicity. Wow, whether it's the vibrant dance of a Haitian festival or the quiet reflection by the Nile in South Sudan, the opportunities for a balanced lifestyle are there. It's just about redefining what relaxation truly means.
And for me, healthy living is defined by not running out of coffee during a podcast. But on a more serious note, what Mira and I are trying to say is that every country, no matter its circumstances, offers unique ways to find calm and maintain well-being. It might not look like the glossy magazine cover version of a spa, but it is authentic. And that's usually where the best jokes and the best life lessons are found.
You know, when we talk about places that really breathe their spirituality, Haiti always comes to mind for me. It's this incredible mix of faith, isn't it? Wow. I mean, you have the strong Christian traditions, but then there's Haitian voodoo, which is just so deeply woven into the culture. It's like the soul of the country. Oh.
Haiti. Yeah. Vodo often gets a pretty dramatic, spooky movie portrayal, doesn't it? People imagine swirling smoke and mysterious rituals. My first thought is, can I get a good coffee there? Not will I accidentally join a ceremony? But seriously, I've heard it's much more about community, an ancestral reverence than any Hollywood flick would have you believe.
Absolutely. It's such a rich, misunderstood spiritual path. You'll find people who openly practice voodoo right alongside their Catholic faith, sometimes even in the same person. It's called syncretist, and it's a beautiful example of how spiritual needs can find multiple expressions. It's like wearing two different earrings, one for your grandmother, one for your favorite saint. Ooh. Don't you think it's amazing?
I get it. It's like ordering a pizza with two different halves, one for tradition, one for modern tastes. South Sudan, our second country today, has a similar, fascinating blend, though in a different flavor profile. Mostly Christian there, but with strong roots in traditional African religions. It's not just about what's written in a holy book, it's about what's felt in the land and ancestors.
Exactly. In South Sudan, you have huge Christian populations, Catholics, Anglicans, Pentecostals, and their churches aren't just places of worship, they're the heartbeat of the community. Well, they provide education, health services, and a sense of belonging in a country that's seen its share of struggles. It's a profound demonstration of faith in action, don't you think? Oh.
So, basically, they're running a pretty effective social network, just with more hymns and less scrolling. I imagine their community events must be far livelier than any office potluck. But it sounds like both places prioritize allowing people to follow their spiritual compass. Are there specific laws or, formal permissions needed for these diverse practices? Or does it just, sort of, happen naturally?
Well, in both countries, freedom of religion is generally protected by law, which is crucial. You're not going to find a spiritual permit office. In South Sudan, the Constitution explicitly guarantees freedom of belief and worship. And in Haiti, while voodoo sometimes faces discrimination due to historical misconceptions, it's about respecting that deeply personal connection to the divine, however it manifests. Ooh. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Do you guys have similar spink about this?
You too. I bet we get comments from people who combine yoga with, like, a rigorous coffee brewing ritual. That counts as spiritual, right? But this blending it really shows how faith isn't always a neat, separate box, does it? It seeps into everything. I once saw a guy in a small village praying to a tree while simultaneously checking his phone for sports scores. Whoa! Talk about diverse spiritual needs.
Eps. A tree and a sports set, that's quite the combo, Leo. But that's the point, isn't it? People find solace and meaning in so many different ways. In Haiti, a voodoo priest or priestess, a hill, and a gormambo might offer guidance that's just as important as a church sermon for some. And in South Sudan, traditional elders still play a significant role in mediating disputes and maintaining social harmony through ancestral wisdom.
So, it's not just about finding a building with a steeple, it's about finding guidance wherever you can get it. Especially if that guidance doesn't come with an instruction manual or a lengthy user agreement. I'm certain that our listeners living in these countries would agree with me, spiritual needs often lead to surprisingly practical solutions, right? And if you want to explore more about spiritual journeys, check out Jeddah AI for more content related to our podcasts.
Yes, Jeddah AI is our go-to for all things adventurous, even spiritual adventures. Oh, it's clear that both Haiti and South Sudan, in their own unique ways, provide abundant opportunities for people to connect with their faith and spiritual practices. From vibrant church communities to the ancient rhythms of traditional beliefs, There's a place for everyone to find their spiritual home. Ah,
Or at least a good spot to contemplate life's mysteries, perhaps over a strong, locally brewed coffee. Knows. Maybe one day I'll find my spiritual enlightenment trying to understand the nuances of a traditional South Sudanese blessing. Or just trying not to spill my coffee during a particularly fervent Haitian celebration.
alright, so our next big topic is social equality, respect for minorities, and diversity. And wow, we're diving into two incredibly complex nations today, Haiti and South Sudan. Oh, when you think about Haiti, you're immediately transported to a place with such a powerful history, a legacy of being the first free black republic. Aha! It's an incredible story of resilience, but also one that shaped its social fabric in unique ways with layers of class and color that still play out. It's like a really spicy dish with so many subtle flavors, you know.
Spicy dish, Mira? I'd say it's more like a very old complex to where everyone's trying to figure out which ingredient belongs to whom. But you're right. Haiti's history is utterly singular. The whole story of breaking free from slavery, wow, is monumental. But then you look at South Sudan, a country born out of decades of war, achieving independence in 2011, to completely different births, but both wrestling with how to build a unified identity from a mosaic of peoples. It's almost like they were build a unified identity from a mosaic of peoples.
You're right, Leo. To extreme difficulty settings, I bet they still find moments of joy and connection. Oh, in Haiti, for instance, you have the Creole language and the Vodou religion, which are powerful unifying forces, almost like shared cultural anchors that bind people together, regardless of their social standing. It's a beautiful mix of African traditions blended with French influences, creating something truly unique. It's like everyone has their secret family recipe that they all bring to the potluck.
Secret family recipes and maybe a few whispered grievances about who got the bigger piece of chicken, I imagine. But speaking of unifying forces, South Sudan is a land of over 60 distinct ethnic groups. That's a lot of different languages, customs, and trying to sing in harmony after a really long conflict. Leadership's trying to sing in harmony after a really long conflict. Wow, the respect for minorities there becomes not just a policy, but a daily negotiation, trying to knit together different tribes who might have historically clashed over land or cattle.
Oh, that's such a great analogy, Leo. 60 chefs, all with their favorite spices. But in Haiti, that diversity often manifests in discussions around colorism and class, which are deep-seated issues that linger from colonial times. You have families with light skin that historically held more power, which creates a subtle, but very real social hierarchy. It's a complex dynamic that often goes unsaid, but everyone feels it. It's like a quiet dance where some people lead in if they're all wearing fabulous outfits.
Yeah, fabulous outfits, but some might be more fabulous than others, right? Haiti's internal struggles, often fueled by economic disparities, lead to social divisions that can feel almost invisible to an outsider but are intensely real to locals. You see similar things in South Sudan, where ethnic divisions can flare up into conflicts, especially over resources. The struggle for social equality there isn't just about cultural respect, it's often a matter of survival.
But despite these really tough challenges, both countries have such incredible resilience and community spirit. Oh, in Haiti, you see it in the Loke-Oyu system, where families live in compounds and support each other, and in their vibrant art and music that celebrate their unique identity. It's a powerful way of preserving culture and providing a safety net, even when the government infrastructure isn't strong. It's like saying, okay, the world is tough, but we've got each other. If you think this is wrong, or if you have specific insights into these communities, please let us know in these communities.
Got each other is a luxury often earned through immense struggle. In South Sudan, the sheer act of rebuilding a nation from scratch fosters a kind of raw, hopeful diversity. They have local peace initiatives, traditional courts, and community dialogues trying to bridge those ethnic divides. It's a daily grind, trying to shift from conflict to coexistence, but those grassroots efforts are crucial. It's like trying to teach 60 different instruments to play the same tune.
But keeping trying is really where the respect for diversity shines through, isn't it? Even with all the historical burdens and current difficulties, people in both Haiti and South Sudan are finding ways to celebrate their unique identities and fight for a more equitable future. It might not be perfect, but the effort is what counts. Oh, it's like baking a cake when you only have half the ingredients, but it still tastes amazing because of the love you put into it.
Exactly. Love, resilience, and maybe a dash of stubborn refusal to give up. These conversations around social equality, minority rights, and diversity aren't just academic exercises, they're the pulse of these nations. And for those of you wanting to learn more, remember to check out Jetafé for deeper insights and resources, especially on human rights and cultural preservation efforts in regions like these. Wow!
Oh, Mira here, ready to tackle a topic that's usually about as exciting as watching paint dry taxation, retirement, and social rights for long-term immigrants. But fear not, we're not letting any bureaucratic jargon suck the joy out of our studio. Today, we're looking at Haiti and South Sudan, which I'm sure will offer some truly unique perspectives. Well, I'm certain that our listeners thinking about long-term stays in these places might have some very specific questions.
Leo here, and I'm already picturing the tax accountant in these countries. Perhaps a guy with a really large, well-worn ledger, maybe under a mango tree in Haiti, or a bustling market stall in South Sudan. Taxation, in these contexts, isn't exactly a well-oiled machine like some Western nations, is it?
You're right, Leo. I mean, who doesn't love a good give what you can system? Oh, it adds a certain spontaneous charm to your financial planning, doesn't it? For Haiti, you're looking at a tax structure that exists on paper, but much of the economy is informal. So, for a long-term immigrant trying to make a living, it might feel like a choose-your-own adventure book, but with more paperwork and less clear endings. One day you're paying a local fee, the next you're not sure what's what.
The thrilling adventure of financial limbo. Oh! South Sudan, being a younger nation, is still figuring out its tax structure. It's like a teenager trying to decide on their career path, a bit all over the place. You might find taxes on goods, or sometimes a local authority decides what you owe on a given Tuesday. I'd imagine the rule of thumb for immigrants there is, keep enough cash on hand for unexpected administrative fees, and always have a good story ready.
Is a wonderful way to put it, Leo. Speaking of creative accounting, let's pivot to retirement for our long-term immigrants. In many developed countries, you expect a neat little pension plan. But in Haiti, formal retirement for immigrants often means relying on personal savings, family support, or whatever you manage to stash under the mattress. There isn't a robust national retirement system that you just join as a foreigner and expect to collect from decades later. It's more of a live today, hope for a good tomorrow scenario.
Indeed. For South Sudan, the concept of a formal, accessible retirement system for long-term immigrants is, shall we say, aspirational. Wow! Given the country's ongoing challenges, stability for a multi-decade pension plan is quite the ask. You're more likely to see people working as long as their needs allow, or relying entirely on their extended family network. An immigrant expecting a comfy pension might find themselves asking, is this rock comfortable enough for my golden years? Ouch. I'm sure our listeners.
Ouch! That's a sharp observation, Leo. It's a stark reminder that retirement planning isn't a universal concept. Moving on to social rights and safety nets in Haiti, access to public health care and education can be quite limited. For immigrants, especially long-term ones, it often means private clinics, schools, or relying on services provided by NGOs. Whoa. So if you're thinking of settling down and starting a family, you're essentially building your own safety net, brick by brick. But you can find resources connect to Jet Off AR later.
Yeah, the phrase social safety net in South Sudan might be interpreted as don't fall down. Public services are severely constrained by the nation's history and current needs. OF. Immigrants would largely rely on humanitarian aid organizations, private providers, or their own communities for essential services like healthcare and education. It's not a place where you typically arrive and expect to plug into a comprehensive government-funded support system. Wow.
Absolutely, resourcefulness is key. Oh, it's fascinating to compare this with countries where you just show up, get a tax ID, and suddenly you're part of a huge system. Oh, it seems your social rights are less about government provision and more about community bonds and what you can personally arrange. If you're considering a move, you'd better be prepared to become your own little support system.
My advice for any immigrant eyeing these countries for the long term would be to pack a really good emergency fund, a sturdy pair of shoes, and a sense of humor that can survive any bureaucratic tangle. Because while the concept of taxation, retirement, and social rights exists in some form, the practical application is a whole other ball game. Oh, thanks to platforms like Jet Off AI, you can at least research the theoretical frameworks before you dive into the practical reality.
A sense of humor is probably the best retirement plan you can have in some places. Wow, it truly makes you appreciate the diverse ways people live and structure their societies. It's a world of difference out there. And every country offers its own unique set of adventures when it comes to these official matters. Ooh.
Indeed. And for those planning, remember to check out Jet Off AI for more details because our observations are, just our observations.
So we're diving into the rate of meeting specific interests for Haiti and South Sudan. What a delightful pair, right? You'd think it's all serious, but I bet even in places you least expect, passions are bubbling up like a forgotten science experiment. I'm genuinely curious, Lear. What kind of niche hobby clubs do you imagine thrive in these countries? Maybe extreme mango eating in Haiti or synchronized cattle bell ringing in South.
Mira, you always manage to find the humor in the most unexpected pairings. Whoa! Extreme mango eating, now there's a visual I didn't know I needed. Oh! But seriously, if my stomach was up to it, I'd probably judge that competition. Especially in countries like competition. When we talk about specific interests, especially in countries like Haiti and South Sudan, it's not always about golf clubs or bespoke artisanal cheesemakers. It's often about unique cultural expressions, deep-rooted traditions, or perhaps even creative survival.
Oh, you're so right. It's not about the usual suspects, is it? It's about tapping into the heart of a culture. Speaking of heart, I'm thinking about Haiti's incredibly vibrant art scene. Wow. You have the naive art, metal sculptures made from oiled rum symbolism. And those stunning Voodoo flags that are just bursting with color and symbolism. Aha! For anyone with an interest in truly unique folk art, Haiti must be a treasure trove. I mean, you could spend a lifetime be intricate details on those flags and probably learn a whole new visual language.
You're touching on something essential, Mira. It's about finding that pulse. For Haiti, beyond the visual arts, there's also the music and dance scene. Wow, compass music will get your feet moving. And the rare parades are pure, unadulterated street energy, a whole interest in itself. It's like an open-air concert and dance party rolled into one, but with historical and spiritual roots. You could spend months there just immersing yourself in the rhythms.
You know me too well, Leo. I'd be out there with my most colorful outfit, probably trying to learn the steps and accidentally inventing a new dance move called Enthusiastic Wobble. Enthusiastic Wobble. Now, switching gears a bit, let's look at South Sudan. Here, I'd imagine specific interests would lean heavily into the incredibly rich, diverse tribal cultures, in traditional wrestling amongst the Dinka or Nuer, or the cattle camps that are central to their way of life. Wow. It's not just a livelihood, it's a whole complex system of traditions, songs.
Exactly, it's a deep dive into something entirely different. For an outsider, meeting these interests might involve careful, respectful engagement through community leaders or specialized cultural tours, if available. It's not like you just wander in and join a wrestling match. Ouch, though I'm sure some of our more adventurous listeners might try. But there are also natural interest listeners might try. But they're also natural. Mira, South Sudan is home to the Sud, one of the world barges for anyone interested.
Oh, the mosquitoes would probably be trying to join my enthusiastic wobble dance too. But it's true bird watching in the Sud, or learning about the Dinka's reverence for cattle. These are incredibly specific interests that offer a unique window into humanity and nature. For someone seeking an off-the-beaten-path experience where interests are deeply intertwined with daily life, both countries offer something profound. You won't find a comic con in either, but you'll find storytelling that's been passed down generations. Wow.
Right. It's less about commercialized hobbies and more about organic, traditional passions. For instance, in Haiti, there's a strong oral storytelling tradition, often linked to Creole proverbs and legends. For language learners or folklore sits, that's an endless wellspring of specific interest. It's about listening, engaging, and perhaps learning a few phrases of Haitian Creole, a language shaped by centuries of history. Oh, the depth of those stories, it's like a stand-up routine that has evolved over hundreds of years.
That's a great point, and I bet those stories are filled with humor too. So, while you might not find a sprawling model train enthusiasts club in either Haiti or South Sudan, what you will find are interests that are deeply woven into the fabric of their societies. Well, whether it's Haitian art or South Sudanese cultural practices, these countries offer rich, authentic experiences for those with specific, culturally curious interests. When you do, it's incredibly rewarding. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this.
Indeed. And as we wrap up this discussion on meeting specific interests, and this episode itself, it's a good reminder that genuine engagement often requires a bit more effort than just booking a package tour. It's about looking beyond the headlines and truly seeking out the vibrant, unique aspects of each culture.
Absolutely. And speaking of effort, this entire comparison has been quite the journey. Oh, it's been so much fun sharing all these insights with you, Leo, and with all our amazing listeners.
It certainly has, Mira. My brain's probably full of more fun facts than a rogue Wikipedia entry. And remember, all you amazing people out there, to keep exploring, keep laughing, and maybe even try a little enthusiastic wobble in your daily life.
Uphold for now. Whether you're at home or traveling, remember to live life to the fullest. Both Haiti and South Sudan have so much to see, learn, and love. Ooh, bye for now. This episode marks our farewell for now. After sharing all this info, we're signing off until our next comparison podcast. Please follow the Jet Orfea YouTube channel for more episodes like this. Hit that bell icon to catch our videos the moment they drop and be among the first to listen. We'd love for you to share your thoughts, comments, and critiques below. Reading and responding to them truly brightens our day. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back soon with more, so until then, take care and see you in the next one. Warmest wishes from us.